I want to take time with this because it took time to get to this. This is covering an 18-year journey.
I think about it in that fashion. It makes me sad. The abuse, I could have missed all that, and I could have been right with my gift. The way that he loves me should be studied.
What was your first inclination when you saw her, Matt?
She's like absolutely stunning. I found out she had a boyfriend.
And I found out he had a girlfriend.
She invited me to her house for Thanksgiving.
Everybody was saying, now that's the kind of guy you should be dating.
How you get invited for Thanksgiving and your boyfriend wasn't there?
My family didn't really like him. He wasn't really invited.
This relationship that you have with this guy, what happens with this relationship?
He was in and out of jail. It's early in the morning, and the police raid his cousin's apartment, and we're both there. All I could see are flashlights, police officers with their guns drawn. We are detained in the house. So there was a whole side of him I didn't even know.
How did your parents take to that occurrence?
I was shipped to a military town in Georgia called Hinesville to live with my uncle and my 3 boy cousins.
During that time and season of her life, what was going on in your life, Matt?
I was working in LA as a psychologist. I met a girl and we hit it off instantly, and we ended up dating for 6 years, and we ended up getting married, and then we had our daughter.
And so here you are feeling like this is it. This is going to take me to death do we part. We're married. What made you decide to file for divorce?
She started using substances. Those substances became a priority. And I never forget this day either. She called me and she said, hey, I'm at the notary. I'm just doing some paperwork. It's for Olivia's school. She was transitioning into kindergarten. So she's like, oh, I'm at the notary. There's just some paperwork you need to sign off. I signed this document. 2 or 3 months later, I find out it was a whole agreement for me to pay child support, spousal support. She put in there the numbers that she wanted. And these numbers were outlandish. In the courts, it looked like I submitted the paperwork because it was filed through a notary. She only had me sign 1 page, and she forged my signature on the other 6 other pages.
Every now and then I would Google Matthew West and nothing would pop up. I always told God, I just want to find someone who loves my daughter just as much as they love me.
Her heart has shown me to be open to love again.
So how did y'all end up reconnecting? The Dear Future Wifey podcast has global impact. From Texas,
I have been on this journey of healing and self-discovery, and this podcast has been a vital part of my process.
Guyana,
God's establishing through you a legacy, a display of freedom found in authentic spirituality.
California,
I've learned so much as a single man through your podcast, and continue to learn so much as now a married man.
Nigeria,
This is just therapy for me. I've been healed. I've been strengthened in my convictions. I've understood how to do singlehood better.
Amsterdam,
way that you've shown us how it is possible for a man to be as intentional as you are.
New Jersey,
I appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate just being able to see that there is life after divorce.
to New York,
I am a single woman, so these episodes really give me hope and courage that God does have a husband for me.
Discover, uncover, and recover love. I'm Laterras R. Whitfield, and this is season 10 of the Dear Future Wifey podcast. Welcome to the Dear Future Wifey podcast. I'm your host, Laterras R. Whitfield. Listen, are you still shacking up with us? Come on, we're in season 10. Listen, I want you right now, I want you to check and see if you have subscribed to the Dear Future Wifey podcast. I think the last time I checked, it was about 65% people that consume the content still aren't subscribed. So y'all got commitment issues, but you want somebody to commit to you, but you can't even push the little button at the bottom there and subscribe to a free YouTube account. And let me tell you why that's important, because a lot of times y'all may not know why that's important, is that as I'm doing these deals, having conversations with different networks, whether it be a podcast network or a television network, the first thing they're going to look at is how many subscribers. They're going to look how many followers. Thank y'all so much to the 600,000 plus that have subscribed to Dear Future Wifey podcast. But with the percentage of the people that do consume it, we should be at 1 million plus. And so let's go ahead. Let's do our part. Show your love. Show your support. Simple as that. Hit that subscription button. And make sure you hit the link in the description and sign up for our mailing list. Y'all know this, y'all always hear me talk about friend to fiance. Y'all hear me use that phrase often. And after meeting the West, this couple is the epitome of what I always talk about. See, I'm telling you, it's possible. And this episode is going to encourage you. It's going to bring you hope. It's going to bring you inspiration. It's going to show you the undying love of Christ and how God chases after those he loves.
Amen.
So without further ado, welcome to the Dear Future Wifey podcast. My homies, Matthew and Erika. West is in the building. How y'all doing? How y'all feel?
Feeling good.
Y'all feel good?
Yeah, we feel great.
Good. Because she want to go slide over there by her booth. Let me go ahead and adjust. No, you can sit. I want you to be comfortable.
Okay.
Be as comfortable as you are and be right where you at so you can be in his arms.
Okay.
In safety. So let me ask y'all, how do y'all feel right now?
Feeling good. I mean, to be honest with you, it's been almost 3 years of marriage, and I'm feeling like I'm still like the bliss of marriage.
3 years of marriage. It don't look like y'all only been married 3 years. Y'all seem like y'all been knowing each other for a lifetime.
It feels like that. It definitely does.
Erika, do you remember what you said to me last night about? I don't want to give you the words, but what did you say about his love?
I said that the way that he loves me should be studied. Because he has a beautiful love. It's exemplary of the love that I feel from Christ in my relationship with Christ. And it's just so beautiful. I get to experience a little bit of piece of that physically here on earth. But that's him.
Matt, how you feel about when you hear her say that?
I mean, it does like really touch my heart because as a man, one thing that I truly, truly appreciate is when I feel appreciated, right? So oftentimes it's like we are out here as men and we're working and we're doing all these things, but we don't know the things that our wives appreciate about us. So it's funny because I often hear her talk to other people about me. And I'd really get to know like what she truly feels. So
Erika basically said you need to do a better job telling him. He said he has to hear it secondhand, like, oh, that's how you feel about me. Wow, okay, I am doing a good job. So is your love language words of affirmation?
I think it's definitely words of affirmation and also physical touch.
Right.
So I think those are like two things, and receiving gifts. But I sometimes I have a hard time receiving. I'm better at giving.
Yeah, that's my problem.
Yeah.
And what about you, Erika? Have you taken the 5 love language test?
I did. I think my love language has changed over and in different seasons.
Yep.
So like right now, I'm not a physical touch person, but that was something that was a really big deal to me a while ago. Right now, I am quality time, like spending time. I really love when I'm able to spend quality time with Matthew.
Do you feel like y'all get enough of that?
Well, we have a 20-month-old, and a 3-month-old, a 17, and a 10-year-old. So, no, we don't get a lot of
Hold on, break them numbers down again. You said a 20-month-old.
Yeah, so I'll start from the oldest to the youngest. We have a 17-year-old. We have a 10-year-old.
So the 17-year-old was what he brought into the marriage, right?
What I brought into
what you
the
brought into the marriage.
yes.
That's a 17-year-old. And then the next age is what?
10 years old. So that's my bonus baby.
Okay. All right. So that's what you brought into the marriage.
Yes.
And then so you got 20? How y'all got 20-year-old? Y'all look young.
No, 20-month-old.
20 months. Yeah, 20 months. I was like, what?
17 years old, 10.
17.
Yeah, 20
10,
months.
20 months.
Yeah,
and
3
and then
months.
a
And
3
3
month
months.
Yeah.
That's the one I was like, oh, y'all just had a baby.
Yeah, we did. We did. So we have our hands full. So the physical touch right now, I'm like, get off me. I'm like, I'm breastfeeding. I'm doing all the things. So nobody touched me.
Leave it alone.
I just want to go to sleep. No, but yeah, no, the quality time is what's really most important to me because that's why I feel like my intimacy, I feel like it speaks volumes to me when someone can actually listen to me, understand me, especially in a season where I need to talk to an adult. I need that adult stimulation, not physically, but that mental, that sapiosexual type, you know, intimacy is what I need right now.
How do you navigate that, Matt? when she's saying that, you know, you named physical touch is one of your love languages. I don't know where it ranks as far as priority, but oftentimes as men, we can feel rejected in that moment. Your background, tell people what your background is.
Yeah, so my background is in psychology. I have 2 masters in psychology, graduated in 2008 from Pepperdine. So,
boy.
yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I mean, that's something that I think about a lot. And it's one of those things. It's like we have so much going on. She likes quality time. I'm focused on launching this app, so it takes a lot of my time. So there's moments where it is a struggle to try to get in like a date night.
Yeah.
Right. And because we have kids, we have obligations, we have responsibilities, and it just starts to get into this mode where it's like a routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that routine kind of falls into the physical touch part. So we have to be like very intentional about how we are going about the day-to-day stuff and not get caught up in just the routine, the mundane, and kind of shake it up. So like, for example, we schedule it, but we don't schedule it a date night a week. So sometimes you don't get to it, but at least we're intentional. Like, hey, we're going to set this time out, get a babysitter, and make sure we get those opportunities. So that way we're kind of understanding and doing what's in line to our love languages.
Have y'all gotten to a point where y'all are scheduling sex as well?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, don't get it wrong. We get it in. I'm just saying. We make it all work.
We ain't got to that point.
I'm like, some people, like, we got kids.
We got Thursday at 5.
Here we go.
In the laundry room.
What's your schedule looking like?
What's your schedule looking like in the next 30 minutes?
Because I love my husband, and believe me, there is not. We make sure that we have our time, because I know how important it is for him. It's important to me too. It may not be like my top priority right now, because again, it's the season.
Yeah, seasons.
But
it's always mine. But
he always in season.
But I mean, whether it's like, you know, is you know, we definitely find a time to make sure that that he's good.
He good. You know what I mean? Good, Matt. Blink twice if you okay. You okay?
I'm good.
So it makes sense about how intentional you were. Y'all came to Dallas yesterday, and you made it a point to go take her out. Is that your standard date night?
I wouldn't say standard, but I definitely because I'm really busy, and I know that I want to do something that's special. So it does require me to like really be thoughtful about planning it out, instead of just being like, let me just think of something while we're out there. Right. So I was like planning ahead. I knew we had things that we needed to get done. So it's kind of similar. I mean, LA has a lot to offer, which is nice. So we have a lot of opportunities to do certain things. It's just more about being creative. So it's not always like dinner, but it's like maybe I could take it to like
You said what?
To go get ice cream. Like that's a big thing. Like an ice cream date or something like that.
I always think ice cream dates are so sexy to me. It just it's so reminiscent of back in the day. You know what I'm saying? It just feels like that, where television shows are in black and white. You know what I'm saying? They go meet for a float, you know, a root beer float. You know what I'm saying? I'm old school. I love that type of stuff. And so let's go ahead and back up. Let's run this thing back. Y'all been married for 3 years now. I can venture to say happily married, right?
Beautifully, yeah.
She said beautifully married. We're going to forget happily. We are beautifully married. And y'all been celebrating wedded bliss for 3 years. Let's back up. How did you and Erika meet, Matthew?
That's a lot. That's a lot right there. Okay.
How did y'all meet?
So we met in LA. I was at Jerry's Deli. It's a restaurant. It's no longer there. It's right across from Beverly Center. And I was out with my friends, and I immediately saw Erika, and I beeline straight to her. Like it was like, I wouldn't say love at first sight, but she was just absolutely stunning. And I just went straight to her. I started talking to her, And we instantly hit it off, and I got her number. And then I called her mom.
Hold on, how you end up calling her mom?
Because she gave me her mom's number.
I was so nervous. I was so nervous.
Why you give your mama number?
It was so, all I saw, I was talking to my friend, and all of a sudden I saw these eyes. I mean, Matthew has very pronounced eyes, if you can imagine. I'm looking at my friend, and all I see are these eyes staring straight at me. And I said, oh my God. I said, Nelly, this guy is looking straight at me. He's coming over here. And by the time she said, what? I said, never mind, girl. He's already here. And he was right there. He was just looking at me. And I was thinking, oh my goodness. And at the time, I had a boyfriend, but I had friends. And so, but I was so nervous with how he approached me that when he had finally, at the end of us kind of talking and chit-chatting for a little bit, he asked me for my number. I was so mesmerized by this face that I started saying 310. And in my mind, I'm thinking I know this number, right? Like I know this number, and it sounds right. But I just continued to give him my mother's number, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with what I was saying. I was like, I knew that I was giving him a number. Right. Yeah, and I was like, something's going on here, but I can't figure it out. And
well, hold on. Some people may think that this is like 3 years ago when y'all met. No, this goes back. You were how old during that time?
Yeah, I was 17 years old.
And then Matthew, you were how old?
Yeah, I was 20. So I was a sophomore in college.
And so it's way back then. This ain't talking about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So you were 17. He was 20. And so when you gave, they're like, why she give her mama phone number? She's a grown woman.
Right.
A grown woman giving a mama phone number. What does that got to do with that? And so you were 17 years old. And then what happened, Matt?
So I ended up calling her because my friend got her friend's number.
Yeah.
And then her mom picked up. She was like, hello? I was like, her voice sounds different, but yeah, I was like, yeah, we just met at Jerry's Deli because I thought it was her. I was like, okay, maybe her voice changed a little bit, but I was like, she was like, hello? I was like, we just met at Jerry's. I kept repeating it, and then she was, oh, you got the wrong number, and then. You were at your friend's house.
I was out past curfew with my friend. We were supposed to be back like maybe an hour or so before. And what ended up happening is we ended up getting to.
You're supposed to start out by what had happened was.
Yeah, what happened was we get to Nellie's house, and her mother, she's Russian, so she's like Nalichka, telling her like because Nellie's phone, her house phone is ringing, so she didn't even call my mom didn't call my cell phone. She didn't call Nellie's cell phone. She called the house phone. She's like, she's supposed to be at the house, So we are rushing, trying to get into the door to get to the room to answer the phone because Nellie's mom is asleep. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And Nellie's mom is like calling Nalichka. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is terrible. So we finally get into the room. I pick up the phone and I'm like, hello. Oh, mom. She's like, some boy named Matthew just called. And he said he just met you at Jerry's Deli. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? I'm sleeping. I was like, gosh. So I had to play it off. Now she knows the truth, but I was out past curfew.
If she didn't know before, she know now. Mama, you know now. She lied to
you. But that's it. So I was thinking like, oh my God. I was like, that's what I did. I was like, that's why I had that feeling of like something's right, but it's wrong at the same time.
You got yourself in trouble. Yeah, what you did.
In trouble. So it almost didn't happen. But luckily, his friend was on the phone with my friend. And I said, oh my gosh, tell him to throw that number away. Give him my cell phone number. Tell him to call me. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. So we ended up connecting that night, albeit giving him the right phone number, an hour later. So, but I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
And so initially, what was it? You said this face you were attracted to. He said he saw you. And what was your first inclination when you saw her, Matt?
Yeah, I was just like, she's like absolutely stunning. Like,
So you felt like she was beautiful, but you wasn't thinking wife at that point, were you?
No.
Were you thinking about I was in a relationship?
To be honest, like I was in college. I wasn't thinking about like wife and kids, but I just thought she was really attractive and it was someone I would love to get to know. So I ended up getting her number, and we just remained friends. As we were like talking, I found out she had a boyfriend.
And I found out he had a girlfriend.
So there was a girl I was talking to, and like we would invite each other. Like she invited me to her house for Thanksgiving. I met her mom.
What?
What did your mom say? She said,
Oh, no, my family. Not just my mother. But everybody was saying, now that's the kind of guy you should be dating. And I was like, no, that's my friend.
Hold on. So I want to understand this. How you get invited for Thanksgiving and your boyfriend wasn't there?
You know what? Because what happened was... No, Matthew and I just hit it off just personally. Like, he was just such a great friend to me.
But where is your boyfriend at this point, at the Thanksgiving dinner?
You know, my family didn't really like him. So he wasn't really invited at the time. You know, he wasn't really welcome at the house. You know? Yeah, so my family was not really they weren't really feeling him. So
so she's like, well, Matthew, come.
Yeah, I was like, Matthew's cool. I got my best friend at the time was going to be there. My favorite cousins were going to be there. So I was thinking like, oh, you know, we'll just have like a good time. Because he always had this like, we would stay on the phone for hours, but he just always had a kindness about him that I really, really appreciated. And I was like, okay, just, come, stop by. Plus he was going to Carson to go see his girlfriend anyway.
I was about to ask you, did you still have your girlfriend?
Yeah, the girl I was talking to, I ended up going to her house, and then I just stopped by. It wasn't. I didn't stay that long, maybe like a couple hours.
Yeah.
And then the girl I was talking to at the time, which ultimately was my girlfriend. We were just talking at the time, but she invited me to her grandma's house. So I ended up going in there.
You were making rounds, meeting the family.
Making rounds.
Picking up to-go plate.
Sweet potato pie.
Yeah, sweet potato pie. And so Matt, when you were dealing with her during this season, y'all friends.
Wait, dealing?
Oh, we're going to say Dylan. As you were getting to know her during this season. Yeah, I told you. That's an inside joke what I said earlier. But I said I'm not going to use Dylan. We're going to use her. So as you are having the privilege to interact with Erika during this season of your life, was it anything romantic at that point? You got this girlfriend. You saw her. You said, she is strikingly beautiful. I want to get to know her. Mm-hmm. You approached her. That wasn't platonic. You approached her from a romantic standpoint. It transitioned to platonic really quickly. But was it always platonic in this season? We're going to talk about this season. When you go into a house to go get some sweet potato pie for Thanksgiving, was it strictly platonic?
At that time, yes. I think over the years, because it was like years that we were talking.
We're going to just stop right there. We're going to unpack all that. Because I want to see what transitions. Because I always tell people that I really believe in friend to fiance. And so I want to unpack how this stuff evolves and why it can evolve in a beautiful way like this, or evolve in a beautiful way like this. And so when you were looking at him during this season, it was strictly platonic.
It was.
And you this boyfriend you got, that's where your heart and mind is.
And I was like down. I was loyal.
You were 10 toes down.
10 toes down.
And we're going to talk about how loyal you was. And here we go. We're going to talk about that. And so she ride or die for real in every sense of the word. So here you are, you got this girlfriend. Now take me, what happens in this moment? So you're still in high school at this time?
I was.
You're in your senior year? Mm-hmm. So you're in your senior year. Who goes to the prom with you?
None of them. My boyfriend didn't go. He didn't go. It was just actually, I went to prom with it was just a really good friend, someone that I like hung out with.
Right.
Yeah. It was just like, we were cool. I was like, look, I don't want any, and that's the reason why I chose to go with him was because I wanted no obligation.
Exactly.
I just wanted someone I knew I was going to have fun with.
Period. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? So now this relationship that you have with this guy, what happens with this relationship? So
the boyfriend that I had, oh gosh, I'll just be okay. So
welcome to the yellow couch.
No, really, because the boyfriend that I had, I started dating him when I lied to him. I was 15. I told him I was 16. and that my birthday was going to be in January. And when I met him, it was the winter time. So it was about 3 months. So technically he could have thought I was going to be 17 pretty soon. So I was deceiving because he was 20 at the time. And so I thought
she likes that 20.
Yeah, I'm about to say that 20 number. That's a secret sauce right there. She said no matter where she is, she want that 20.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting is so our daughter, which is the oldest, she told her that you are going to meet your husband when you're 17.
Who told her that?
She told me, she said by the time, well, my daughter, this is like what, she's like older, she's like 13, and she told me that she had heard on like some, I don't know if it was MySpace or some platform that it was, she says, well, she says, you know, they say, this is like fast forwarding to the future, obviously, but she says, you know, they say you meet your husband by the time you're 17. And I said, I was going through the Rolodex of people, and I was like, no, I haven't. I was like, no, but he never crossed my mind either. But yeah, but anyway,
That's interesting. That's pretty dope.
I know. She told me,
dope.
I said, what? I said, okay. I was
pretty
thinking,
prophetic.
I
Years
know.
later, she says that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So then what? So you got this guy, and then what happens?
Yeah. So I'm dating this guy. We dated for about 4.5 years. But during this time, you know, I was young. I was very, you know, naive, very gullible. I grew up in a Christian household where I was sheltered for the most part. My rap music was like Kirk Franklin. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it was, you know, I just grew up in a very sheltered environment. But what ended up happening was he was in and out of jail. And so he always had an excuse as to why. This is my first encounter, my experience with having to deal with somebody. So when he first initially told me one time I couldn't get a hold of him, and all of a sudden I'm getting this prepaid phone call and he tells me that he's in jail, I'm thinking like, okay. So everything within me is shock. That's the first thing that I feel. I'm thinking, okay, I'm kind of having that feeling right now. It's so crazy because I remember how I felt. It was shocking to me, but then he explains to me, oh, but you know, it was my cousin who ended up having my ID, and then they end up coming to find me, and it was always this excuse. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, well, I guess that could be reasonable. But really what it was just a bunch of excuses to basically keep me in the relationship. And so this was happening, you know, over a 4.5 year span.
4.5 years.
4.5 years.
And how many times would you say he got locked up during that 4.5 times? Got arrested?
I would say 3 or 4 times.
And then the last time was the biggest time, and what happened during that occurrence?
So during that time, I had come from my father's house going to spend time with my boyfriend. And it was early in the morning, and the police raid his cousin's apartment, and we're both there. And I mean, I'm talking about we're upstairs in this loft area, and all I could see are flashlights and hearing the boom, 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 you know. And all I see are these police officers with their guns drawn. They're pointing at me and him, and he's trying to tell me to go out the window and to stand on the roof. And he's like, they're not here for you, stand on the roof. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm not going outside, I'm gonna fall off this roof. We're like 3 stories up or something. I'm thinking I'm gonna die, you know.
Stand on the roof.
But I'm like, there's no way I'm doing this. But the police raid his house, I'm here, and you know, got a t-shirt on. I'm thinking, oh my God. But they, you know, ultimately, you know, we are detained in the house. Okay. And they're talking to me, asking me, you know, what I know about the dealings of whatever my boyfriend is doing at the time. And I literally had no clue.
Of course not.
He had sheltered me from any involvement in what was going on in his life. So there was a whole side of him I didn't even know. But he's older than me. He's living his life. And this is how I was like, this is making sense. I was wondering why he had the money, the cars, and why we were always, you know, on the Sunset Strip, you know, doing this and that, having fun, or he's buying me Chanel or whatever it is.
You was getting that back then? Good Lord.
But I just couldn't figure it out. But I knew that his family had ties in the entertainment industry. I just didn't know how he particularly was making his money. So family business. And it really was a family business. I mean, to the point where he was telling me, oh, you know, I asked him, I said, what do you do? And he says, I flip birds. And I was literally thinking, like, you flip a bird. Like,
he's a magician. He does these birds.
I had no idea what that means. And then to this day, I really don't have, I mean, I guess I kind of know now, but I mean, let me say, I do know now, but I didn't understand what that I Googled, like, you know, you can't just Google flipping a bird. Like, you just can't do that nowadays. I mean, it'll give you the
show you Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, right. The Urban Dictionary will give you a real straight definition. But back then I just didn't know. So
and then and so at that time you were 19?
I was 18.
You were 18.
I was
and
18
then
years old.
how did your parents take to that occurrence?
I'll just say this. They didn't take to it. I was off. They shipped me to Georgia. I had been enrolled in school. That I'll tell you, I didn't do it. But I had been enrolled in school. I was shipped to a military town in Georgia called Hinesville, Georgia, to live with my uncle and my 3 boy cousins.
So how long from that moment that happened to you got to go?
I mean, it was like a day. I mean, it was, my mom was like, you are out. My bags were packed. I mean, everything. Even to the point where it was happening so fast that, I didn't have time to think about anything. But I did know that one thing was for sure. The police officers who had arrested us, or who had detained us at the house, said, you know, they couldn't find anything on me because there wasn't. But they said, if you don't stop talking to him, I will find something to put on you. And so that's what prompted this. You know, I told my mom what they said, and it prompted them. My mom was like, absolutely not. And I was terrified. So what I had to do was I had to cut the relationship off with my boyfriend at the time. I had to cut it off cold turkey. I was thinking it was very, very painful. Eric Benet, all these other like love song singers, they were my best friends because I was like dealing with it. I was like, oh my God. It hurt. It burned. It was a deep burn.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get over that? Where
Gosh.
Like where you were like, stop crying about it or not tempted to call?
Because it was such a long relationship, and he was my best friend, my first boyfriend ever. And I'll be honest too, he was the person that I had lost my virginity to. And even further than that, I had gotten pregnant. And because of the stress and all of the things that we had dealt with, I ended up losing that child. So that was my first experience of having a miscarriage.
So it was a lot. It was very layered. This whole thing was layered.
The whole thing was layered. So I say to stop crying about it, it took me years to, I would say this, to get over the whole thing, years. But to stop crying about it, I would say it probably took me a good 3 months. And I'm talking about being locked in my room, crying. I would journal. Man, I wish I had that journal still.
That'd be good to go read.
It would be, yeah. My uncle threw a lot of my stuff away, which I didn't realize, but that journal was in there.
Did you ever blame your mom for separating y'all? Or did you understand?
At the time, I did not. I did not understand.
So even though the police said what they said, and even though you found out that he lived a double life, you still were blaming other people?
Yeah, I thought I could help him. I thought I could save him. I thought I could love him through whatever he was going through, and that he could just be more like me. You know? I was like, come on. I'm like, you don't have to do all that bad stuff. Like, we're good. Just get a job. Like, we'll be good. But it didn't happen that way. That wasn't his life, and it wasn't his family's lifestyle either. He didn't know better. He didn't know anything different.
Other than,
And being mature is something that I noticed in you, because he came back. He came back into her life.
Yeah. When?
So this was not like a week ago.
No. He came back last week.
No, he came back. When was it? Like maybe like 5. You were older.
Yeah,
already.
I was older.
Your daughter was older.
Yeah, I had my daughter by that time.
And she kept in touch with him. And what was interesting was she told me.
Keep in touch.
No, not like that. But what was interesting, what she told me, was he was still stuck back when they were younger, And
doing the
she
same
couldn't
old thing.
relate or connect, or it's like she matured, but he was
left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Arrested development.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's arrested development,
Right.
pun intended. And so the question is this. So then, now here you go. You live in this different life, way in Georgia. What happens to Matthew? Where are you at this time?
So
she just disappeared from you too.
I did.
Yeah.
That's true, because I didn't know she even went. So I was in college at the time, and the last time I saw her, we actually went on a couple dates. Like she would come to my dorms. I went out because she was going to Laverne at the time, and she was in college, and we would hang out. And it was actually, I'll just share this story. There was a time where we were supposed to, I was gonna take her out on a date, and she was like, "Hello, where are you at?" And I was driving on the freeway, headed towards her, and she's like, "I'm on the side of the road, and my car is not working." So her car broke down, and I drove to her, and she was
so
with her
sweet.
friend. She was with her friend. She tells the story better, but she was with her friend, and I had a rose,
A single stem
a
long
single
stem
stem rose, and I brought it to her, and I took her and her friend back to the dorm. And what did your
My
friend
friend
say?
Tiffany was like, so now that's the kind of guy you should be dating. She was
So you
like,
heard
he
that
is
from
fine.
You heard that from your
Think about
parents.
your rose.
Heard that from your family. Everybody
Yeah.
at Thanksgiving, and now your friend says this.
Yeah.
Now, when did this happen though? Because this is before she moved, right?
Yeah,
This is before I moved. And
before
my
you moved,
boyfriend
yeah.
and I at the time, we had broken up because he had gone to jail again. I was just kind of getting tired of it, right? I'm thinking the first time should have been but I still was, trying to help him.
And when you
And
called
be
it,
there.
so Matt, you called it a date. Was it a date, or was you just going to hang out with your friend?
To me, it was a date.
And to me, it was him coming out to hang out with me because we were
Exactly.
going to go hang out. So the fact that he brought me a long stem rose, I was like, oh, well, thank you. That's sweet.
That's unexpected.
Here you go, Tiffany. No, it was really a sweet gesture. But to me, it still just matched the type of person that I knew that he was.
So you felt like he's just a nice guy.
Yeah, I was like, he's so sweet.
But you don't see him you didn't take that as being romantic. See?
No, I didn't think of him trying to talk to me in that way because he was my friend.
And what did you, at that time, Matthew, what was it? Were you shooting your shot at that point?
Thinking back, I got to really think about that. I would say, yeah, I think I was. I was trying to pursue her because I did like her, and that's how I was. That's how I moved. I was the nice guy.
Because you wouldn't just give any girl a rose,
No,
would you? You ain't just
no.
like, hey, all the girls for Valentine's Day, I just give y'all all roses.
Yeah,
no, it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
saying, no, I
This
like
is the
you.
one. Yeah, no, 100%. No, that's what it is. And yeah, so that happened. We kept in touch, and then
she disappeared.
I didn't know where she was. We didn't talk. I think
Without a trace.
Without a trace.
There's nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
But your phone number didn't change, did it?
My phone number didn't change, but I think that I tried to block. I literally just didn't answer the phone because I think I was so scared about what and who could be connected and what was going on. To be honest with you, I had people calling my phone that had never called my phone. They were asking me for things or saying, "Oh, well, you are she," or should I say the name? Let me be quiet here. But just asking me, for certain things, and I was thinking oh my gosh, I don't know who's calling me and what's going on and who's connected. So, and then being that I was just so scared, I just said, you know what. And I knew I needed to heal. So I just literally cut everybody off. Even my cousins, my family could get in touch with me, but I really, honestly, I just kind of was trying to heal from everything that I had just endured.
It makes all the sense in the world. And so now, how long does it take you to start trying to date again?
Okay, so that took a little bit of time. I managed a movie theater out in Hinesville, and that was, I would probably say, I think it was probably a good 6 months or so that I was there, and then this encounter happened.
And what happened with this encounter? Who is this guy? So you meet this guy.
Yes, a military man.
And y'all started dating. And y'all got married.
We didn't get married. We were engaged. I left, fast forward a little bit, I left the day before we were supposed to get married. But at that time, we were engaged. And we ended up having a daughter together.
So that's the daughter that y'all keep talking about,
yes,
right?
Our 17-year-old Paige.
Your 17-year-old. And so she's 17, so she got to eat her own words then. That means she's going to meet her husband too.
I know. I was like, and now I'm like, well, who has she met? I'm like, I don't want none of them as my son-in-law. So I'm just letting you know. And I'm just like,
shoot, boy. I'm glad that ain't my testimony. And so you look at that, and then so this guy, what happens with this guy? Why doesn't it work out? You were engaged.
So yeah, we engaged. Everything in the beginning seems like it's just beautiful, but what I didn't realize is that over the course of our relationship, there were like these things where he was like, I'm just playing with you, but he was being very rough with me. And so what I didn't realize was that hindsight, it was more of this controlling, abusive relationship, kind of like grooming me to something that could have, transpired to being something a bit bigger, which it did. So my daughter is born. I have her in California. I basically moved my stuff all to Chicago where he was, because he had PCS2 from Georgia to Chicago, his hometown. And so I was going back and forth, ended up in Chicago with him. And, I had this really, really vivid dream. And it was almost as if like I was standing right there, just as real as you are to me. And physically I could touch. That's how real my dream was. And I dreamed of this, fair-skinned girl with this hair and the eyes and and making love to my fiance in our bedroom. And it was like, have you seen the movie Ghost?
Yeah.
And you're trying to go like this, and I couldn't get her or him or their attention or anything. And so I woke up from that dream. I was drenched in sweat, and it was, in my heart, I knew, I was like, he's cheating on me. And I told him, I called him and I just said, hey, I had his keys. I said, hey, I'm just letting you know, I'm going back to LA. I said, this is my dream. I believe that you're
you want to just move straight up from the dream?
Yeah.
You want to look for confirmation of that? I'm finna move.
Yeah, because there had been so many things that had transpired in the relationship that were just leading up to that. This, it wasn't a healthy relationship. It wasn't good. It was almost as if like I had took my car and parked it right in the middle of the enemy's camp, and I had just bombs just keep dropping on me. It was very manipulative. It was ugly. And so what ended up happening was his brother lived right in front of him, so right across from him in its apartment building, and his brother's girlfriend was home. I said, hey, I'm going to give you these keys. I said, I don't want anything to do with this relationship. I'm going to be leaving.
So I want nothing to do with this relationship.
Yeah. And so what ended up happening is he came home and he burst through the door and he choked me out. He harmed our daughter, but he choked me out and left me for dead.
Was his relative there, his brother?
His brother was not there. His brother's girlfriend was there. She saw the whole thing. So it was a witness, and his neighbor had come and ran. And I remember just right before I had blacked out, I remember seeing those two. And then I woke up, and I mean, this is like, I don't know how long I was out or whatever, but I woke up to just complete silence. I didn't know where my daughter was. He wasn't around. The girlfriend wasn't around. The neighbor wasn't around. No police, no anything.
Oh, you was by yourself.
I was
they just
by
left
with the door open.
They just left?
Just left. Yeah. So it was very traumatic. I mean, I remember him holding me up against the wall with by my neck. And I remember him saying something to me. And I don't remember what it was that he was saying to me. But he was like, but I do remember he always used to tell me, if I can't have you, nobody's going to have you. Mm-hmm. And I remember him telling me, he was just yelling something at me. I just remember he was so angry. And at that time, I just remember I couldn't move. And to think that I would defend myself, you don't know what you would do in a situation like that. But all I know is I thank God for waking up. Mm-hmm.
I thank God that you woke up too. My grandma and my aunt, who named me Laterras, was killed from a domestic violence situation. My Aunt Kay, And the same words were spoken to her, my aunt, if I can't have you, no one can. Mm-hmm. And she left. He kept putting sugar in her tank or whatever, messed up her car. And then my mom was like, just come to Dallas and just spend some time with us. So she came for a few days. And then she said, I'm going to go back home. Mm-hmm. And then she went back home, and he came through and killed my grandma. Shot her, my cousin, who was 2 years old at the time, tried to shoot the baby, but she got shot like in her rear end, and but she survived or whatnot. But killed them both, and then the police had them on a chase, and they ended up killing the guy. Wow. But those words are haunting when you say, if I can't have you, no one can.
Yeah.
And so to anybody that's dealing with any domestic violence situation where you're being abused, get out. I'll probably put a number in I'll do that. I'll put a number in the description for you to be able to call the number to get help. That's something that has been I just see it pop up from my friends' lives, from my relatives, where they'll find themselves in these relationships where a woman feels like she can't escape. And people go, well, why don't you just leave? Just leave. And it's the psychological thing that I'm glad you touched on. Grooming for the abuse. That he groomed you. I'm just playing. I'll do this and do this and keep doing that, and make you keep lowering your guards, lowering your expectation. And then when the big situation happens, when he really does something bad to you, he's programmed your mind into staying present. If you were to go to seek help or go to the hospital, that you lie and make up some excuse. So how did you navigate that? How did you deal with that after that?
Gosh, I mean,
did you have a child with this man?
It was a lot of confusion around what was going on. To be honest with you, it just quickly, I know he used to tell me, he was a military man, he was infantry, so we had guns in the house. And he would always leave a gun for me at the top part of our bed. And just so happened, and he would tell me, if anything comes through that door, which is the front door, he would say, you shoot it until it stops moving. That's what he would tell me. And it just so happened that the night before this happened, by a miracle, he put that gun away. And I said, why are you putting away? I'm going to be home by myself. And, it was a kind of like a sense of security for me, because I knew, okay, I have that just in case, because he had me programmed that I didn't even go outside. I didn't have a key to the apartment.
You didn't have a key to your own apartment?
No, I could only have the key if I was doing laundry, so I can go in and out of the house. I didn't think of it. I thought it was him trying to protect me because he knew the area better than I did, or he knew the building and I thought it was like maybe a bad building or something, but he was programming me to control me. And so, so you can understand, he was very manipulative. We ended up breaking up too. What ended up happening was that he got a 16-year-old girl pregnant, one that he was trying to recruit into the Army. And so when I had that dream, do you know that my dream was the girl?
Wow.
The girl that I dreamed in my dream was the description of the girl that ultimately he had pregnant. And she's six. The daughter, is 6 months younger than my daughter. Yeah. So how did I navigate?
He got mad. That's what put him in a fit of rage.
Right. So what ultimately happened, you have to understand, my mind frame at this time mentally, I am spent. I don't trust myself because I feel like I'm not making the right decisions. I couldn't connect to my daughter because my daughter at that particular time, she really favored her father. And it was really hard for me because of all this stuff that happened, I was thinking it was harder for me to be a mother. I loved my daughter dearly, but there were some things that she would do or something that would remind me, and it would be a trigger.
Yeah.
And it would make my blood pressure go through the roof.
And you're going through postpartum.
And I was going through postpartum, because that was, my hormones are all over the place. So my mind state, you're talking about coming out of that, I was completely and utterly I was unwell. I was spent. I was done. And I couldn't think straight. I was losing a lot of weight. I wasn't eating right. My mom, when she came to pick me up from the airport and she picked up my daughter, she says, oh my gosh, she took a picture of me.
You had gotten that thin.
I had gotten so thin, and just my color was gone. Everything about me, my countenance, it was just completely opposite. She said, I was like, why is she taking a picture? She went, taking a picture of me and my daughter. My daughter, she has a permanent scar on her face because of, that encounter too, because she was in my arms when he burst through the door and put me at my neck, and I dropped her. Yeah, and he had no wherewithal of like. Did
he get in trouble for what he did?
I wish he did. I was gone within 6 hours of that event happening. I was on a plane back to California, and when I called to press charges, they said that I would have to be in Chicago. I was like, I'm not coming back to Chicago. They said, yeah, well, there's going to be a court date, and I said, I can't do that. I was like, I can't do that, and they said, well, then you can't file charges. So there were never any filed charges against him. But, or even a restraining order. I said, can I at least get a restraining order? They said, no. They said, where do you live? I said, in California. They said, well, he's not in California, so there's no reason to get a restraining order. So it was a very complicated process. I felt helpless. I felt like this happened to me, and I wanted to validate it. I wanted, not necessarily revenge. I wanted documentation to say, hey, this is what happened to me. But because of, laws and everything, I wasn't able to successfully do that.
And then, but he got his just due with the situation with the younger girl. Did he get in trouble for that?
No.
God,
so
no.
I had the military, had called me, and he had done a DNA test even with this, and I had access to emails and things like that. So I had seen this paternity test come through. I sent it over to the military, but he was also retiring at that time. And I think that there were a lot of people like covering for him, but he never got reprimanded. They said that they were cousins, and that's the reason why when I tell you, it was such a bizarre situation.
Oh, they said it was cousin. That's why the DNA is the same.
Right. That you are 99.999.
I didn't think about that part. That was a good little lie.
I'm telling you.
I would never even think about that lie to say we related. Talking about, oh no, I never slept with her. That's my kinfolk.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, God, he said they were cousins, and so there was nothing. Right.
The world.
But yeah, so there was never anything there, and I even tried to pursue it, and nothing ever happened. And so it was really tough, because I was thinking, how is someone? I'm big on like justice.
Yes.
Not revenge, but just justice.
Yes.
Like, let justice be served. Okay. Yes. This is what happened, and nothing ever happened. So it was, to this day, sometimes I still think about it. I just think like, why didn't anything ever happen? But, I move forward from that, and I forgive him. But it was a really challenging, hard pill to swallow.
And so I assume that y'all don't have a co-parenting relationship?
No, he disappeared actually. So my daughter, when she was really young, I, started dating when she was maybe about 1.5 or so. And he actually decided, I remember calling me, he would always trying to get back with me. And he probed to the point where he says, he asked me if I had a boyfriend. I said, you know what, fine, I'll let him know just a little bit. I said, yes, I have a boyfriend, and the only thing that you need to know is that he treats Paige well. And he's like, well, F this. Yep. It was just a very volatile response. And he said he wanted nothing to do with her, and he disappeared out of her life until she was about in 6th grade. She was going to 6th grade. Mm-hmm.
So then he disappeared, and then he came back, and then disappeared again?
Yeah, so no, he's actually, he has a court appointed phone call with her, so he adheres to that. But my daughter at this point, she's just like, a
court appointed phone call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what they'll do. They won't have it where like on the summers or whatnot to go see them.
No, you know what? Because I think he had disappeared for so long, and when he tried to enter her life, he was not kind to her. Yeah. And so she had no desire to have a relationship with him. So I said, well, I didn't have to say anything. He kind of did that on his own, So, but yeah, they do their phone calls, and that's pretty much how deep it goes. Yeah.
During that time and season of her life, what was going on in your life, Matt?
So this was early 2000. So I was going to school, graduated, Went on to Pepperdine in 2008. And during the time when I was going to get my second master's, I met a girl, and it was through a mutual friend, and we hit it off instantly. And we ended up dating for 6 years, lived in Marina Del Rey, and then we had our daughter. But let me backtrack. Let me backtrack. So we lived in Marina Del Rey. I was working in LA as a psychologist, and we ended up getting married in 2012. Yeah, 2012. 2 years later, we had our daughter, 2014. At that time, we were thinking about a place to raise our daughter, potentially expanding our family. So I would say with that marriage, because you're probably trying to figure that part out, with that marriage, it was like, I think we definitely were friends. I think it matured into something deeper. But when I think back at it, and now I'm in my relationship with my wife, I think I was in the relationship in terms of my heart, in terms of my intentions, more so than that person was. And I think there was alternative things that she thought about in terms of like, oh, he has a good job and he can be a provider and things like that. But she wasn't truly like in love with me. And as I think back, I think that's what her intention was going into it. And even just by us dating, the kind of questions she asked, it was a lot about like, oh, you graduated? Oh, what are you doing now? What's your plans? Like, and her father was very successful. He's he's actually world renowned in terms of cosmetic surgeon. He's African American, so he's very well known. He's very successful.
So you were great to bring home to daddy.
So and I think she was seeking out someone
like her dad
that was ambitious like her dad. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So fast forward, we moved to Irvine in Orange County, raised our daughter out there, and I think it was just we weren't equally yoked. So at this time, I was not of the faith. So
you're a Muslim.
I grew up Muslim,
right?
And going in, and that's a big piece. When you are in a marriage, the foundation has to be Christ. Period. I can't emphasize that enough. And that's the beauty about our relationship with me and Erika, is our foundation is Christ.
Well, see, some people say, well, hold on, you can't just say when you're in a marriage, it has to be Christ. What if we have shared belief as as Hindus or whatever? Or if we're both Muslims, it don't have to be based on Christ in a marriage. And so you're saying what? You're saying being unequally yoked, or you're saying that you believe that in order for a marriage to be sustainable and right, it has to be rooted in Christ?
100%.
Terrence, you can say whatever you want to say. You can make it sound nice, dress it up. Whatever. I said what I said.
I said what I said. So yeah, with that, that I agree. I agree with what you're trying to say.
Yeah. And I ain't trying to say it. I ain't even trying to say it. I'm just trying to say that the people here, they be like, what you trying to say? I don't even believe in Jesus like that. So you gonna try to tell me that my marriage is invalid because it's not in Christ? That I don't have a firm foundation? I hear what y'all believe as Christians, but my marriage is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, the beautiful thing about that, if you don't mind if I
Go ahead. Jump in there. He tagged you in now. Go ahead.
Well, the beautiful thing about it is that because I think with Christianity, I always say Christianity, but to be honest with you, I think it's such a convoluted word. People use Christianity and it's so thrown around. It's just, it gets icky. So I like to say I'm a follower of Jesus Christ.
Facts.
Period. And I believe that there's only one way to heaven.
Amen.
And so I believe that was his intention when he created man and he created woman. And he told us to go and procreate. And it's in his design, in his image, and how he loves the church. The marriage between a man and a woman and God or Christ being the foundation, we believe that is the only way.
There it is.
There, it's just simple. But do other people have very successful marriages? Yes. But you know what? It's not to say that anybody's bad or someone does anything wrong, but you can always dress up the pig. You can always, I think that, and it's hard to say this because I think it hits to a lot of people's core when you're talking about religion and what someone believes in. But to be honest with you, like they said, there's only one way. I mean, he was Muslim before when
y'all met at 20 and 17.
Yes, and I was Christian, and my whole family is Christian. I grew up in that household, so and I think that's another reason why Matthew and I, God didn't prepare us in that season to even date or have the eyes for each other in that season. But
have the eyes for each other.
Yeah, but we believe that truly, like, God is the only way. He is the way. He's the truth. He's the light.
And no man coming to the Father except by Him.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
All right, so let's go here, Matt. So you're in this marriage. You have this child. Y'all in Irvine, California, raising your daughter. She had a daughter. You got a daughter, and so here you are. Feeling like this is it. This is going to take me to death do we part. We're married. You feel some misalignment there, but hey, you're going to make it work. What made you decide, and who made it? Who made the decision to file for divorce?
Yeah, so what happened was there was like a series of things that kind of led up to us finalizing it. So it was a mutual thing. We did eventually like co-parent. I can get into it, but we're not co-parenting now. But what was the catalyst was she started using substances.
Okay.
And those substances became a priority. So she ended up going out late at night, and I was at home with her daughter. And sometimes, like, I didn't even know where she was. I don't know who she was with. I never had situations where it was confirmed that she was with somebody, but there was times where she just didn't come home. Just disappeared. And I know she was using substances. I know she was drinking. I know she was hanging out, like going to clubs and things like that. And I think in hindsight, I allowed her to hang out with her friends because I'm like, she's hanging out with her friends. I'm not okay. I trust her, no big deal. But then it's like you start. Wait a minute, what's going on here? And I was like, I don't know if this, like, I'm starting to feel unhappy in this relationship because I feel like I'm alone and I'm trying to raise our daughter. Like, just things are not just lining up. And she was like pulling her way. And then there was a moment I remember she called me. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And she's like, you need to pick me up. I'm like, where are you? She was literally maybe a mile away from our house. So I grabbed my daughter, I put her in the car, drove over to her, and there was a police officer there. And I mean, by the grace of God, she wasn't arrested. She was under the influence. The car, she ran it into a pole, and the officer was like, hey, look, I could do X, Y, and Z. If you take her home, I'm good. I'm good. And we were literally driving. She was upset, and like maybe because she was under the influence. Mm-hmm. And that was the moment where she said, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with our marriage. I'm done. So in hindsight, as I kind of go back to that moment, I think about it and I'm like, you're done. Like, what do you mean you're done? Like, we've been married for the last 5 years. Like, what do you mean you're done? And we were going back and forth. And I was like, maybe we are done. Maybe we are done. And it was like a few days after that. And then I ended up just thinking about it, and we kind of talked about like what happened, what transpired, and we decided that we weren't going to be together anymore.
How do you feel recounting that situation? Is it still hurt and pain behind it? What are you thinking?
I mean, it does bring up some type of like disappointment, because going into a marriage, the one thing that I always told myself was I'm going to be with that person regardless, because I know myself, like I love really hard. And it was devastating to even consider breaking that marriage off and moving on. Because I literally, like, this is my life. Like, we've built a life together. This is my life. I'm not going to just end this. And I worked at it. Like, there was moments leading up after that event where I was making an effort, and it was almost as if, or not almost as if, it was moments where the more I put in effort, I would like go above and beyond. I would do things. It was like she would like push me away. And then the interesting thing was, a year after that, like after this moment, she filed the paperwork. We were still kind of talking. We were still cordial. We were still co-parenting. Like, I would take my daughter to school. She was in private school at the time. And then there was a day that, and I never forget this day either. She called me and she said, "Hey, I'm at the notary, and I'm just doing some paperwork. It's for Olivia's school." She was transitioning into kindergarten. So we had already talked about like having her go to the specific school that she went to. And it was like a private school, and she had talked to the director. I talked to the director. So I knew about like exactly what was expected. So she's like, "Oh, I'm at the notary. There's just some paperwork you need to sign off, and they just need your like income, and they need some documents to sign off so she can go to school." So, okay, I trust you, like, no problem. I signed this document, and then it was literally 2 or 3 months later, I find out it was a whole agreement for me to pay child support, spousal support. And I'm not talking about like, okay, based on your income. She put in there the numbers that she wanted. Mm-hmm. And these numbers were outlandish. So in the courts, it looked like I submitted the paperwork because it was filed through a notary, and I signed off on this paperwork, and it was only one page. So she
was able to put whatever she wanted.
She put whatever she wanted, and she only had me sign one page, and she forged my signature
and all the others
on all the 6 other pages.
See, I knew that it's rooted in a lot, because when I'm listening to you talk, it's like it's so heavy, and people pick and choose how they say what it is, because if you just really go in, you'll probably be a mess right now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I could hear the weight of pain in your voice. Yeah. And see, a lot of times we don't hear the man side of the story. A relationship goes wrong. Well, what you do? What you do, man? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what you mean what I do? I mean, you had to do something, because there ain't no woman just going to just leave you for nothing. And you like, the bias that you approach me with, you don't know what I had to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Right. And even dealing with stuff when you're talking about substance abuse, I've heard that happen several times. I've heard with people having to handle a spouse going through mental illness or whatnot, and the person threatening to kill them or whatever. He's like, "What do you do?" "Well, stay married. You're supposed to love." Like, do you realize how crazy that is? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, no, I have to leave. A friend of mine was stopped by my studio yesterday, and we were talking, and I said, "What happened to that girl you was dating?" He said, "Man, I didn't know that she was dealing with mental illness." He said, he said, "I really cared about this girl, and she started pacing around the house and doing all this stuff. And then I ended up talking to one of her relatives. They're like, yeah, she goes through these bouts." He's like, "Man, how?" And she started acting, I don't want to use crazy, acting outside of her character and doing stuff that was scaring him. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, oh no, like, you know, we dating, like I can't sign up for this. You know what I'm saying? But you will never hear that story. You'll just hear that it didn't work out. They broke up, you know? And so that's the reason why on this podcast, I like for stuff to be balanced. I like to share about, I had a guest on, Raven, who talked about her cheating on her husband. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, y'all don't believe women cheat, huh? Y'all just think it's all men. No, thank you, Raven Hartwell, for being transparent and sharing what happened in your marriage.
Right.
And so I like for the Dear Future Wifey podcast to be a platform where people can operate in transparency, truth, vulnerability, so that we can all heal and don't have some fairy tale expectation of what marriage is, but we're able to say, oh, it takes both of us choosing each other. What did you say earlier? You said seeing each other. What'd you say about looking at each other? Erika said something about being able to see each other as we were dating or whatnot.
I didn't have eyes.
I didn't have eyes. Eyes to see, as you said, eyes to see. So now you're solely the custodial parent. Is that what you're saying? Y'all don't have a co-parenting situation or what?
Yeah. So what happened was in the paperwork too, what she put was it was set up for her to have more custody. So it was like the split was like 85-15.
Dang.
So it was set up so that way she can receive the funds and it would make sense. So it was like all money. And then that's when, in hindsight, I look back, like it was almost like I was being used because she was very manipulative in other areas, but I was being used. And it was almost like, I wouldn't say like going into the marriage, like this is what her whole entire plan was. That
some shifted.
Yeah, but it was something where she planned this out. It was very thought out. And it wasn't something that just happened. Like she had counsel, she thought it through. And she went through,
and that was irreversible. They couldn't change that.
Yeah, I went.
So
to
you
the
locked
course.
into that.
I locked into that, and then what she did was she ended up taking my daughter away. So they were living in the place. I was like, you guys can live there. I'll move out. That way, you don't disrupt our daughter's living situation. She's about to go to transition in the kindergarten. So I was like, you guys can have it. Like, I'll take care. I was even paying for them to live there. And then she just got up, left. She went to, because she now had this funds automatically come into her bank account. So she got up, she went to Palos Verdes, got her a place, enrolled her daughter. And then, so I wasn't able to see my daughter. It was like at least a year and a half. And I would reach out. I would try. I was trying to reach out to her, and no response. And then eventually, I was able to get visitations because her lawyer said, "Look, you have to allow this man to see his daughter. Like what you're doing is not right."
Good.
So I was able to finally see her. It was a period of time where I was seeing her consistently. So every other weekend I was with her. Everything was going well. And then I don't know if she felt a certain type of way. I don't know what it was. I got married. I let her know, like, hey, I'm getting married, because I wanted to be transparent. I wanted to let her know, like, I'm getting married. She has a daughter. Here's the situation. At first, she was fine with it. Okay, everything was fine. And then slowly over time, I don't know. I'm not in her head. I don't know what's happening. But if I had to guess, she didn't like it. So she ended up taking her away again.
We haven't seen her, no.
Y'all haven't? Yeah, we haven't seen her in
3 years.
No, it's been like maybe 2.
It's been 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. 2 years. Mm-hmm. But I would go to her school because I knew what school she attended. I would go to her school, like bring her lunch, because I want my daughter to know, like, I'm not out here just like her, not trying to see you and not trying to connect with you. I'm regardless of what your mama's doing, I'm gonna come see you.
Yeah.
So it was this past summer, I went to the school like I normally do. And the principal, I had a good relationship with the principal. And she's like, oh, you didn't know? your daughter has been disenrolled from the district. And the paperwork trail shows that she's in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
you didn't even know where your child was.
I didn't even know where she was.
We still don't.
Whole
and
nother state.
And to be honest with you, I still don't know if she's in St. Louis. I just know by the paper trail, and they were saying that she could be there, she may not be. So I called I was like, when the detective mode, she was helping me out. I called the school, and I talked to like the dean, and he was going through the files, and he was like, I don't even see her name. And this is the information I received from the district saying this is the school that she enrolled in. That was requesting the information. So she did a switcheroo, because she could have been like, send information here.
Yeah.
But then
I'm not
now
go or go here.
She could be in a different state.
So the paperwork gives you entitlement and visitation rights, correct?
Yeah. The court order says that I'm obligated, or I have the ability to see my daughter.
So what happens is this, because I've had some friends that go through that, and I don't walk them through this. And the state laws in California may be different than the state of Texas, but because you have a right to your child, you can file an interference with child custody. And so every time you're supposed to have the scheduled visitation and she doesn't provide access to that child, you'll keep filing, and that you don't have to have an attorney for that. Mm-hmm. The police will take over that. Mm-hmm. Then if the child is outside of the jurisdiction for you to be able to know where their kid is, they'll file a kidnapping charge, because that's your child. Mm-hmm. You can't just take somebody's kid and just go, you just can't do that. And so they'll start with an interference with child custody, which is saying, hey, you're interfering with the court order where he is supposed to have the right to see his kid, and you're not allowing that. Police will take over that. That is a felony offense. And so what happens is that a lot of men don't know their rights. A lot of them just be saying, well, I'll just wait till they get 18 years old and then they can come find me. Right. No, you need to press the issue and say, I want my kid. Police, this is where I don't know where my child is. And here's the paperwork. That same paperwork that she gave you is the same paperwork you show them. And listen, I don't know where my kid is. The last known place was at the school where I would see, and they don't even know where the kid is. I need y'all to look into that. And then they'll start investigating that, and you keep going up there, putting pressure on them, and next thing they'll track that child down in a heartbeat. And then you'll be going to court, and see what God does. He'll revert everything that the devil meant for evil. Right. He'll flip that thing around, and you'll look around, and then you'll have full custody of that child, and she'll be paying you child support. Right. I'm trying to tell you what I know for a fact. Mm-hmm. Don't sit back and allow somebody to handle you like that, because a lot of times men don't feel like they have the power and authority to exercise their rights. Right. And you do have clear rights to be present in your child's life. But I didn't even know I didn't even know all this before I started interviewing you, but I'm glad God allowed this to take place. And also what I hear in the spirit is that you could be the poster child of why the red pill community exists. Because a lot of red pill people, the men, they have been mismanaged by women. Women have treated them trifling, sent them paperwork like you did all this stuff where it's unbalanced. And they were like, so you understand, these women are evil. They did this or whatever. And they blah, 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 blah. And they can give you every reason. And it could be legitimate reasons of why they should hate women. Mm-hmm. All women. No women could be trusted. They're all evil. Spawns of the devil. You know what I'm saying? Just all of them. And you have the right to feel like that. But what you did was like, no, I isolate that. That's what happened with her. And I can show up and love this woman, where she says at the beginning of the interview that the way you love her should be studied. So how did y'all end up reconnecting? Now, Erika, he said you're quite the investigator, which was quite interesting, because how did you end up finding out that he was married?
Well, I had, again, from 17 on through, going through my own situation and not seeing him or anyone. Let me stop.
Thank you for sharing that too, because that's a very weighted thing. Thank you for sharing what you shared, King.
That's a lot, but I appreciate you.
That's a lot. I didn't even expect that. And Erika, thank you for sharing with me the trauma that you experienced, and because I see the connectivity and why this had to happen. Yeah. But go ahead. I ain't gonna get ahead of myself.
No, it's okay. No, we I mean, gosh, from going through all the things that I had gone through. How did we get together? So I had looked for him. I remember God specifically placed Matthew in my heart, and he kept him hidden in my heart. I didn't know why, but I had a fondness for Matthew, and I would think about him from time to time. I would think, whatever happened to my friend Matthew?
My friend Matthew.
Whatever happened to him? I remember our phone conversations. It was completely platonic. We were having fun. We were just talking. He truly was someone that I cared for genuinely, and I couldn't pinpoint why God allowed me to have such an affinity for him. But I did. So all these years later, I would Google, Facebook came, it was, I think it was MySpace and Facebook, then Instagram, and then all these things, started developing. And every now and then I would Google Matthew West. And nothing would pop up. I think there was like, I think the most I got was like some singer or something like that.
Yeah, I seen him too.
But I was like, that ain't him. So we're going to keep it pushing. But it became to the thing where I could not find Matthew. I couldn't find him. But so in my heart, I said, oh man, I'm thinking like, why, God, do you keep bringing him to my awareness? But I can't find him. So what I did is, after, years of, doing this, not years of just searching for him, but just every now and then he would pop up in my mind or ding, and then I would search him and, nothing. Okay. But I said, okay, but I actually came to a point where I remember being at work and I remember Googling him one last time and I grieved him. I said, I'm not ever going to find this person. I'm not going to find my friend Matthew. And I remember having, crying, having this emotional moment of where I was thinking it was a death of a friendship for me. I would never have that connection with my friend Matthew again. And mind you, I had been, I'm in relationships and things like that, but was still thinking in my mind, this little thing, I would think about him. So I remember a trip. I remember watching this show. It was one of my favorite shows, and it was about plastic surgery. And I remember seeing this Black prominent doctor living in Beverly Hills on this TV show. And I was thinking to myself, like, this is so interesting. This is like an anomaly. I've never seen this before. So I get on Instagram and I look him up. And I'm thinking like, this is so interesting. It was just so interesting. I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure his life out. And I could not figure out like why I was so interested in this man's life. But apparently, it was ultimately led me to him. But what ended up happening was I, looked up, I saw this beautiful girl. I didn't know if this man, I was, just probing, and I saw this beautiful girl next to him. And I said, oh, okay, well, this is his daughter. And I click on it and I'm like, oh, and I'm looking at all these little cute baby photos and all these photos. I said, oh my gosh, this little girl's so adorable. I just couldn't help myself. Like, she's so cute. I'm like, I don't know them from Joe, but I'm just like, this little girl is adorable. And I'm going through and I'm swiping through this one set of photos, and I'm going through and I see this family picture. I see it's her and, from some other family members. And I went, that's my friend Matthew. And it was not funny then. My whole being got all hot and red. And I was thinking like, oh my God, like this is him. I'm like, I found him and he's married and everything. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like going through trying to find more photos. But it was literally like only, I think, one photo that I found. I remember I screenshot it. I was thinking like, he's live, he's married, and and I'm thinking, I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I remember again, like being at work one day, and I just so happened to Google his name because there was no Matthew. And I was thinking, at the time when I found his photo, I was thinking, I want to just message her and be like, hey, I'm his friend. Can you just tell him I said hello? But I was like, that ain't going to go well. She got me like, what?
Who's the chick over there?
To talk to my husband? Like, you bold. So I did it. But
and then Matthew didn't have social media at that time.
He did not have social media. No social media, no Facebook, no Instagram. It was, I don't know what you were doing. But
why was that? Because your practice?
No, I honestly, like, ever since college, I never had an interest. Yeah, I never had an interest. And I was actually, what's interesting is I knew how to run Instagram, and I was running the account that she was scrolling through.
Oh, the father's.
So
the father's account.
The Instagram was the images. I had access to it, so I would post for him.
See, you could have DM'd him.
I could have DM'd him. I had no idea. I had no clue.
He said I was running it.
He was running.
I don't have a page, but I am managing this page.
I was like, that was a trip finding out this later. But like,
and so how long was that? From that moment, you had this. So you're feeling this. You're flushed with a heat of emotions, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe he's married. He has this beautiful family. How did you reconcile that in your heart?
You know, I think I Googled him. How I reconciled my heart was, it was almost like I had no choice, because I am not that type of person. I'm not that type of person to even try. So I said, you know what? I digress. I said, I am so happy that he is loved, that he has a beautiful family. And I left it at that. I did Google his name, and I ended up finding him on LinkedIn. And I thought, oh, okay. I sent him a message. Hey, hey, I hope you're doing well. I hope something about along the lines of, I hope you're doing well. This is Erika. I just wanted to, say, hope you're doing well. Just sending love,
That was years after you discovered.
Yeah, years.
Yeah, this was years. Yeah.
And then when she did that, were you single now?
Yeah. So at that time, I was single. I was going through the divorce. It was already finalized. And yeah, to be honest, like that was a tough moment, or a rough season, because I had just gone through a divorce, and I had, like, my whole identity was being a dad, being a provider, being a husband. So I was like, what am I doing now? And I had a conversation, because we ended up linking up on message.
Well, you got my message,
LinkedIn, and we exchanged numbers, and then we ended up talking. I told her the whole story. I was like, here's what it is. Like, if this ever materializes to anything, I want her to know everything.
Yep.
So I told her, I probably overshared, but I told her everything, and I was like, it's Erika. Like, I've known her. Like, if she changed or if things change, like, I still had the desire to pursue her, but not in a romantic way. It was just like, I was just trying to figure out. Yeah, I was trying to heal. Trying to figure out myself and heal and get through that. And at the time, she was dating someone, and she was potentially going to marry this person, because they were like considering. And I remember the phone call right after that was like maybe like a week later. She's like, hey, I'm getting married.
Yeah, I got proposed
so
to.
I was like, so at that point I was like, oh, okay, hands. I'm not calling her, like, because I'm not a home wrecker, and I'm not going to disrupt whatever. And I'm happy for her, and I wish her well.
And I think the phone conversation that we had was, hey, I prayed with him. I said, you have, for the sake of your daughter, I pray that, God is able to heal your marriage. And I encouraged him.
You want him to get back with his wife?
Well, because I didn't know the extent.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know. I knew.
Well, yeah, she wanted.
I didn't know all the details
to get back
of, like,
with her, in the sense of, like, she wanted me to be happy.
Yeah.
She was in a.
I was rooting for them.
Yeah.
I was like, it's hard enough. You see a lot of Black families being broken up, and that was, to be honest with you, I come from a broken home. I was thinking that beautiful little girl that I had seen. Yeah. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm like, what could be happening that it could not work out? Yeah. That's, again, my naivety and me not fully understanding the weight of everything that he was going on. He did talk to me about a lot of things, but in my mind, I was thinking I was also broken, and I had endured so much that I was thinking it can't be that bad. I'm thinking, like, go to church, get under God, get some mentors, be under some elders or something. But, it was already to the point where, they were already, going through the divorce and everything.
And so here you are about to get married to somebody.
I was.
How long were you dating him before y'all decided to get engaged?
I would say you're probably dating about a good maybe 6 to 8 months or so.
And he done put a ring on your finger, told you to go pick out your own ring.
He told me to go pick out, he proposed to me, he said, go pick out whatever ring you want. And I did just that.
And it's been a ring that you have been eyeing, a ring that you've always wanted.
Yes, it was the most beautiful ring I had ever seen.
And you got that ring and put it on your finger, and it felt like what?
It felt like I had put cuffs on. It felt like I put handcuffs on me. And not only that, that ring that I thought was the most beautiful ring that I have ever seen was the ugliest ring that I had ever seen. And it felt like a weight on my finger. And I could not understand why I was having such an adverse reaction, not just to the ring, but ultimately to him.
Yeah.
I was not pleasant to be around.
And he wasn't doing nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong. But he had set it up, and he was set up in my life as if we were already married. He had taken on some of my debt to help me, pay 0%. He was teaching me about finances.
See, the women right now talking about, girl, send them to me. I heard in the spirit realm. They said, Erika, where is he? Drop the deets in please send them to me.
Yeah,
that's what they said. They saying that right now in the chat right now. He said, clear up my debt and help him with my credit.
He loved my daughter. One thing that I would always say, I was like, with each relationship that I was in or encountered, I had learned something new about the person that I was. I learned something that I loved about that person, but he loved my daughter. He loved my daughter with such with a passion. He chased after her heart. And so a part of me, because I was feeling so guilty, I said, I don't want to break this thing off, because I said, he's more of a playmate to her than he is a partner and a lover for me.
But I felt, to be honest, my opinion on it, when she told me how he was interacting with her, like, I think he took it a little bit too far. Because after they had broken up, he was like, well, I want to continue that relationship with her. And
with our daughter.
Yeah. And she was like, no, that's not going to happen. Well, no, I want to hang out with her, just me and her.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was like, no, that's kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
But that's not gonna happen.
So I was like, no, that's.
So we, so it was definitely like one of those.
Days, dropping them off.
Yeah.
Matt be meeting them at the park. Time, oh, come on here.
Right.
Like, what is this?
Right. But you know what the interesting part is that my father was outside looking in. He said, and finally, especially after being with Matthew, he says, I feel like that relationship with him was a counterfeit. A counterfeit always looks real before you get the real thing.
And that's why I felt like a weight. Mm-hmm. That's why I felt like it was a spiritual thing that God was trying to show you.
Right.
And see, I love that. I always believe that you'll always meet a John the Baptist for Jesus. Mm-hmm. You'll meet the person that comes before the one.
Right.
And if you're careful and have a discerning eye, you're able to say, Holy Spirit, what are you saying to me?
Right.
Because even when someone is doing the right stuff, it still doesn't mean that they're the right one.
Right.
And we have to be able to understand what that really, really, truly means. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes you can meet people, you're like, gosh, they do everything right. But I don't feel the peace in being with that person. And you have to check in with yourself and say, God, Holy Spirit, why do I not have a green light?
Right.
And allow God to show that the hardest relationships to end are the ones that are perfect.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong.
Yes.
And you go, I can't, because most time we try to find what's wrong in order to end it. And when you get a healed perspective, it doesn't have to mean somebody has to do something wrong for it to end. Mm-hmm. You're able to sit there and be like, you know what? I just don't believe that this is the right choice.
Right.
And you may not even be able to articulate it. You may not be able to explain it. But when the right choice shows up, you'll go, it was worth the wait.
Right.
And so how did you end it with this gentleman?
It was really hard. It was a lot of untying, because he had added me to his Netflix.
Yeah, I told you. I said that ring is one thing, but that Netflix account, you got to stay with me, Erika. You can't just leave me out and put you on my Netflix. No, we locked in for life.
Yeah, he did. It was like he was moving. He purchased a cell phone for my daughter. There was a lot of tying the debt.
Were y'all living together?
My debt. No,
okay.
We're not living together. That was
so what
one
made
thing.
you not live with this guy when you lived with the other guy in the past, right?
I had changed. There were so many things I had changed. I said, if I want I was always dating to marry, but then there was also this seriousness in which I did it, and doing it in a way that I felt, one, to honor Christ.
Right.
And so one was, being celibate. One was not shacking up before I got married, and I had only lived with, that one boy, my daughter's father, for that bit of time. But I purposed that I was going to.
You said, yeah, she did that. She said, I ain't even call my boyfriend. Live with him. They had a whole child. She said, my daughter's father.
Yeah. Because this is her daddy. This is her daddy. This is her daddy. Mm-hmm. So, and where she places her identity, when she was searching so many years, not having the identity, and then finding what was not something that she was going to subscribe to, being her biological father at that time, she was like, no. One thing, like I said, I always told God, I just want to find someone. I said, I just want to find someone who loves my daughter just as much as they love me. And that's what he did with the counterfeit. And then what ended up happening was she found that genuine love, that real love, that love, that peace that I feel like he is a piece of God's love here physically on earth, that he was designed to be here for me and for my daughter. And she finds her identity in this man that she shares no blood relation, but she thinks that she looks like him. She said, "Oh, Dad, we look alike. We kind of look alike, right?"
They actually do, though. I saw the pictures on your page. That's why I know y'all had different. I know she had a different dad. Mm-hmm. I was like, "Oh, that's all the kids are here." I did not know that.
No, yeah, she finds her identity right here, but it's because of how he loves her, and how he loves me, and how he loves our boys.
Let's back up.
This is another moment I feel appreciated.
There it is.
I tell you that.
He said, not enough. So let's back up, because I don't see how y'all, we done skipped over how y'all even got back. How y'all get together.
Sorry. Yeah. So, after.
So you engaged, you break it off. It was hard. Y'all had to do a whole lot of untying of all this stuff. Y'all y'all not living together, but you're on the Netflix account. That's hard. That's extremely hard.
Yeah.
Are y'all sharing bank accounts at this time?
No, we were on credit cards together and things like that. So that was, again, some untying. But what ended up happening was Matthew, I decided Matthew wasn't even on my mind at this time. In my mind, when he told me he was going through a divorce, I was thinking, I can't touch him with a 10-foot pole. I would not touch him with a 10-foot pole, because I know how it is when, I saw my parents go through divorce. I knew through with my relationship, and I was engaged. I wasn't going through a divorce, but, separating from him, from my daughter's father. And I knew that it takes time to heal.
2018.
Yeah,
2018.
It takes time to heal. So I was like, oh, okay. He's still my friend Matthew. I care for you. I'll pray for you. I love you from a distance, but there's no way that I'm going to put myself, because I'm trying to learn how to trust myself,
make better decisions.
And so there was a lot of, I was armed with.
So you ended it with your fiance.
Yeah.
Now you're single. Mm-hmm. He's single.
I'm dating hard.
Yeah,
I'm dating like it's a job. Like I'm doing teas in the morning. I'm doing maybe a lunch, and then I'm gonna do a dinner.
So you got about 3 days in one day.
Right. So I'm making it very, very intentional about, what I want to do. I want to date to marry. I got to put myself out there. And
since now it's 2021.
Yeah. So Matthew ends up.
So this ended in 2018 with the guy?
Right.
And it's 3 years later. Mm-hmm. Matthew is still cool. You still talk to him from time to time?
Every now and then.
Oh, every now and then.
Yeah, every now and then.
Now you out in these streets.
Yeah.
but you abstinent. So you out here, you saying, I'm going to go so far. I'm out here dating. Nobody ain't getting the cookies. But
no kissing, no nothing.
She said no kissing, no nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
But you dating 3 people in one day.
Yeah, right.
You over here running interviews.
Yep. Literally.
You're like, all right. Thank you so much. I will look at your application and we'll give you a call if we're interested. And then she comes in next. You walk back, sit there. He's sitting over there waiting for you to get finished with the other guy. He comes sit down.
It was scary sometimes, because that was really the case. I was like, oh my gosh, hurry, believe. babe.
Passing each
Do
other.
do not linger.
Do not
Keep going.
Keep going, keep going. So she was running them through.
But
And so you were doing that. What did you learn about yourself when you're dating multiple people? Because I said that this is another thing I talk about on the platform. I said women should date multiple people until they pull you off the market. So why did you have that ideology way back there in 2021?
I think I knew what I wanted, and I knew that it was a needle in a haystack, and I knew that it was going to take quantity, because the dating pool is 6. So I knew it was going to be quantity until I found the quality. And so I knew that like they say, kiss a bunch of frogs before you.
And you weren't even kissing nobody.
And I wasn't kissing anybody. I wasn't kissing no one. And people were mad, but I was like,
Oh, you said it was guys that y'all build a date and you'll say what that you ain't going.
I'm not kissing. I'm not. And some people were like, well, if you're not putting out, then the date is over. And I was like, all right.
And they get up and walk off.
No, pay this check before we walk off.
Pay this check.
Before you walk off.
Come back. Yeah, that right there. I need to pay that. Now take care. God bless you. See you at church Sunday. Youth pastor.
Oh my gosh. No, but we honestly, they're really nice guys. But at the same time, it was just like I had a certain standard for myself. I knew what I wanted, and again, I was like, if I have to do this because I'm really being intentional about it, then I will put myself through this to find it. But it was challenging. Do I think like do I feel like it was easy? Do I think that it was would I do it again? Gosh, I wouldn't want to, but I did. But I did because it ultimately ended up me finding Matthew. And I wasn't even looking for him in the dating pool. He wasn't a part of it.
So how'd you splash into the pool?
Yeah,
tell me how it happened.
I had a date planned. I had a tea planned. I had a dinner planned.
3 people. Yeah, 3 people.
It was 2.
You said tea, a lunch, and a dinner.
No, sorry, a tea and a dinner planned.
Okay. Your lunch was available.
Lunch was available.
Yeah, it was 2021. She had thrown a birthday party for her daughter. I didn't know it was her birthday, and I had texted her that day or called. No, I called her. And then she texted me back like, "Hey, it was a long day." That's how I found out it was her daughter's birthday.
Yeah.
It was a long day. I just celebrated my daughter's birthday. The guy that you were dating, because you guys were still friends at the time.
We were still kind of communicating.
He was there.
He was
her brother
Paige.
was there. Her mom was there. And then I was like, yeah, just give me a call. And then it was like from June to like August. I didn't hear back from her.
You said, give me a call and she never called?
No. Let's not get it twisted. No. She said that.
June to August?
It was like a busy day. And then we ended up talking, but it was like a period of time we had not talked. Like we were planning to like meet up or link up. And then it was now August something. And I was like, let me just give her a call. It was random. And I had called her and I said, hey, remember that Peruvian restaurant? I made reservations. It was like on Saturday. I said, I would love to see you, catch up. I'm thinking.
You don't make reservations without asking her availability? You said somebody daughter going.
Straight to it.
You said somebody daughter going. If you're unavailable, somebody daughter going. You said I made reservations. It was on what day?
I was thinking like, man. I was like, man, he messing up my dating plans. I was like, I got a tea and I got my dinner. I'm thinking like, okay, well, I guess I can let these people know. I'm like, okay, I'll let them know that, I'll reschedule with them. But I was like, he messing up my plans. I was like, let me go catch up with my friend Matthew, whatever.
My friend Matthew.
And my dad was in town. So I was like, okay, this can happen. Like, my dad can watch my boo and everything. So, we're good. But I ended up going on a date with him.
But when you was going with him, was it a date? Here we go.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, you're right. It wasn't a date. It was literally catch up. My dad was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to go catch up with my friend Matthew. And
your dad knew that name by now, didn't he?
Yeah. At the time, from being my friend Matthew, and because he had been in my life for so long, even with him being disconnected, my dad was my confidant. I would talk to him and I said, I can't ever find my friend Matthew. So my dad definitely knew who Matthew was. My whole family, did. But yeah, so when he had asked me out, it was completely, I was disarmed because I was just thinking we're just catching up.
And what was your intentions, Matt?
I was trying to turn it into a date. Because I always liked her, and I was like, now she's not married. Like
Not
this
engaged.
is
Not engaged.
Yeah, it's not engaged.
I'm single.
Yeah, I'm single. She's single. This is not a regular restaurant. This is from a conversation we had. She mentioned that she liked Peruvian food. So I was like, okay.
Well played, sir. Well played, man. He said she mentioned. He said, this ain't no regular restaurant. He said, I heard something. I paid attention to something that she said, and I'm going to do something symbolic on this. And you said, we're going to go to this Peru. Now, when did she say that? Did she say that a long time ago?
Yeah, it was like, it had to have been like maybe a year. And it was a conversation, because we would talk on the phone for hours. Like, we'd be on the phone for hours, and we were talking about restaurants we liked and type of food. And this was during COVID, so nothing was really open. And we just happened to talk about food. And she was like, oh, I love Peruvian food, and blah, blah, blah. So I researched it, found this restaurant. I was like, this is perfect. And then
we went to catch up, and something started happening inside of me. When I first saw him, I was like, oh, my friend Matthew, how sweet. Like, this is great. And as we were sitting there eating, something was stirring on the inside of my spirit. And I could not figure, I was like, what is going on? I'm thinking, like, this is my friend. Like, why am I feeling this way? And I didn't know, but it was almost like, just allow him to get to know you. Just allow him to get to know you. And if I had gone in with thinking that this was a date, I would have been guarded. I would have been, like once removed, just like, okay, have all my rules of things I do and I don't do and all this stuff. But I was just going to see my friend. And I remember by the time we were done eating and dessert and all that stuff, I did not want to leave this man's side. I was trying to find excuses. Oh, where's your car? He was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to Uber back to my office. No, I'll take you. My car was dirty. I remember I had like stuff in the back, and I was like, I'll take you back. I wanted every excuse to spend every moment that I could with him, because I did not want to leave. Something was happening. And so I remember we sat in front of his office. I remember sitting there talking for hours. And I remember we were listening to music, kind of like sharing music with one another, playing like, we at the time was Tidal, And I remember just like this, I'm really spontaneous, and I was like, oh, do you want to be my dad? And he's like, he's like, and I'm like, yeah, my dad's out here from Monterey. I'm like, do you want to meet him? I'm like, he goes back, but and I was thinking like, it's probably not going to happen for quite some time for him to meet my to meet my father. So I was thinking like, oh, do you want to just meet him? So I called my dad, and my dad's like, well, I'm kind of in pajamas, So I was trying to make this happen, and I was like realizing, okay, it's not going down. Like, it's just not happening. So, eventually Matthew and I, we ended up, saying we have to go to our respective places, but we stayed out, it was the wee hours of the morning. Yeah.
So what were you thinking now? You're getting this different level of buy-in. Are you feeling just platonic vibes from her? Or are you like, is she feeling me? Like, what is this? Like, what did you start feeling something stirring up? Wow, because you already had something that was brewing.
Yeah.
What were you feeling in this encounter? Y'all spending all this time together.
Yeah,
and let me ask you this: is it safe to say that y'all never spent this extended amount of time with each other before, prior to this?
On the phone, yes, but not.
No, I'm talking in person.
No,
yes.
not in each other's like presence physically. Yes. On the phone, there was always this like energy. But then like that energy became real when we were connecting in person, and I can sense it. Like, she was getting giggly, and I was like, okay, she feeling me. okay.
It's okay.
So and then we end up after that, like we were on the phone talking to each other like every single day.
But what were you thinking while she's doing that?
Yeah, I was thinking like, okay, this is different because Erika usually doesn't move like this.
Yeah.
Like, she's like usually like, okay, I'll talk to you later, and then months will go by or years will go by. So I was like, okay, this is a little bit different. So that's what I was feeling. I was like, okay. But then also I was thinking like, I want to take things slowly because like, I don't want to rush into anything, and I want to have discernment. But I really like thought about it, I prayed about it, and I knew there was something different. Like, it was in my spirit too, like stirring up, and it was deeper than just like she's beautiful, she has a beautiful heart. Like, it was deeper than that. And I think
this was September 2021.
Yeah, this September, and then I mean, it was just happening so quick, and I remember
a lot of time together too.
Yeah, we were spending like every day.
A lot of time together physically. So it was almost like every day we were. It was like we were on the phone and then seeing each other physically, and then it came to a point where I was like, "Oh, we went on a date," and then he ended up meeting my daughter, and all this was happening within.
And your little rule about not kissing that you uphold to that.
Okay, so after 4 dates, Matthew kissed me in front of his office, and I was like, oh. The kiss was welcome and it was beautiful. Okay, it was beautiful. I was like, this is amazing, but it was one of my things, like, okay, like, this is not going to be a thing because I was.
You kiss me, we go together.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I had to let him know. I said, as much, we talked on the phone, I think it was that night, and I told him, I said, I was really beautiful. It was really sweet. I loved it. I don't want you to get confused by any stretch of the imagination. I said, but I do want you to know, I kiss my baby, and I do not kiss men. I said, unless I am absolutely committed in a relationship, I am committed to them. And I said, so, it happened, but it can't happen again.
What'd you say? What'd you think about that?
I mean, now it's 2021, so I'm like, it's not 1921.
Exactly. Like,
so I was like, but at the same time,
he said, "This girl right here is heavy. She's real serious. Have to be spoken for if you're going to kiss me."
But I respect it. Like, at the end of the day, I respect it, and I was like, okay. I kind of actually, it makes me more attracted to you because you're moving a little bit different than some of the other girls I was dating.
Yeah. So, it ended up being that he was actually traveling for work, and he had like some speaking engagement in New Orleans, and I volunteered to take him to the. Airport. Well, he kind of asked me.
So let me tell you something for y'all that don't know. In LA, if someone were to take you to the airport, that is something so serious and so intimate and so sacrificial. When I tell you, somebody said, "I'm gonna take the airport," that is like that's saying something. Am I lying?
No, you meant
no, that's the truth. That's
no
the
lies
truth.
here. No lies.
He said, "I'm gonna take you to the airport."
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta come get you, take you, and then come back to my respective place.
Yes,
that's sacrifice.
I did. I took him to the airport, and it was on that ride. I mean, I'm feeling all kind of giddy inside. I'm feeling like I'm happy. It was an honor for me to take him to the airport. That's how I felt. I'm like, oh yes, like I could do that. Yes. So I honestly did. I felt like it was an honor for me to do that. I was like, he's trusting me to take him. And I thought that he wanted to spend his last moments, here right now with me before he was, before he were to leave. It wasn't like he was going to be gone for a year, but it was just like a couple of days. But I still felt like, he wants me to take him.
Her last moment coming back in 2 days. You can also pick me up when I land. Oh, yes. Please, come back. Come back.
It was that. But he had told me something. I'll let you tell them what you... say what you...
Yeah, what'd you say to her when you dropped her?
What'd you say to her?
She didn't set you up. She didn't get you the alley-oop. What'd you say to her when she dropped you off?
Yeah, so we were talking in the car, and I was just straight with her. I just said, you know what? I like what was happening. I think there's something deeper here, and I want you to be my girlfriend.
He just wanted another kiss.
I just want another kiss.
And what did you say, Erika?
I kissed him.
Well, see,
I kissed him.
So he didn't ask for a kiss. You wanted the kiss. Now you're gonna project it on my boy. He asked specific questions. Will you be my girlfriend? You done kissed him.
It was a yes. It was a yes. It was a for sure yes. And when he was getting out the car to leave, I remember that was the first time that I had leaned in to kiss him. And from then I was like, oh, okay, this is no longer my friend. This is my boyfriend. And gosh, I'm telling you, the peace that I felt over finding the needle in the haystack was almost like rushing water, like you be in the desert and then you get water. That's what it felt like to my spirit, to my soul. And I knew in that moment, even without him being my husband, that I had found him. I knew that I had found my husband. And I just didn't know how to communicate that to him. And so, so he comes back from New Orleans, we're still spending time together. And then we do this thing. So I'm feeling sure, but Matthew was a little bit, in my mind, a little bit tougher to read at that time.
Like an enigma.
And I was thinking like, okay, I know where I am, but I need to understand where he's at. And I knew that he was spending the time with me. I knew all these things, but I said, we need to really make sure that we're on the same page. So I did this thing. It has nothing to do with Kaizen, but I had done this thing, Kaizen at work, where you kind of lean out, you list a process out and you start leaning it out. But basically the initial process is you list out everything in the process. So you put all these categories up, like what it takes to get to your end goal.
Family, vacation.
Yeah. So what I did was I applied that to relationships. So I put like sex, family, relation or debt. I put kids, all the categories that you could think of that you deal with in relationship, and vacation styles, everything. And we would post how we think we are under these particular categories. And we talked about even illnesses or family, anything medically in the family that you can think of that you deal with. That can be passed down to children or anything. So we put literally everything on the board. And what we ended up finding out is we had a lot of our morals and our values were in such alignment. But that took, Matthew was Muslim when I was 17. Matthew is now a grown man and he is Christian. And so we're now equally yoked. And now we're not just equally yoked. We're finding that we have all these morals and we have all these principles and values and things that we are finding that are in a complete alignment. And I was like, oh my gosh. So even though I knew this was even more confirmation to me, that I said, this is someone I want to be with. And so, with Matthew, I think that was your defining moment, his defining moment as well, where he had found like, oh, well, this is something
Blink
that I'm
twice
seeing.
if that's true.
She said that. You saw how she did it?
Yeah.
That is your defining moment, right?
That was your defining moment too. Right, Matthew?
Right.
Right?
I'm just saying, I knew he knew. We all knew.
God knew, he knew, the angel knew, they all knew.
It was the confirmation.
My daughter even confirmed it. She said you meet somebody at 17. Matthew, why it take you so long to figure out?
Right.
So what did that moment do for you?
But yeah, wait. Let's
Kaizen. What is it? The Kaizen?
Oh yeah.
Kaizen,
So we were in the office and we kind of laid out like everything. We laid out what we were.
And this on a whiteboard?
Yeah, it's on a whiteboard. It was like a big whiteboard. We laid it out. We wrote it out.
Post-it notes for all our decisions.
We put in all the. It felt like more like transactional when I was doing it.
I was about to ask you.
But I once we were running through it and we really took time. It felt like it was a good opportunity to get to know each other on a deeper level. Because you can get to know a person through a date. You can ask questions, but when I'm a visual person, so being able to kind of visualize that was something that like really allowed me to really understand how she thinks. And
fast forward to the future too.
Yeah, yeah, and see how that looks like from a whole, like looking down.
Yeah.
And
so what it takes two people to, kind of figure out maybe 2 to 5 years, we were doing in
right
like
now.
a day.
Yeah,
we're gonna
right
talk
then.
about it. It's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna feel, it's gonna require transparency and vulnerability. It's going to require you to, be honest, because a lot of people try to play their cards a little close to chest.
Yeah, and they don't want to. They don't
initially.
want to talk about these. These were
were
hard questions. Like hard
Give me an example of one.
So just like
You ain't got to get an answer, but just give a question.
Yeah,
that
just
was
like
the hardest
the
question.
biggest thing, like what relationship is finances. Like understanding, like some people don't want to let the other person know. Like I got this debt, I got student loan debt, I got child support. Like because I could have easily said I don't have any child support. Or I don't have,
and even the amount that he was paying because of the, I was like, good Lord,
Exactly.
what do you have? What's your arrears?
Mortgage? What you say? Mortgage?
I'm thinking, how is this going to impact my life? I'm trying to put my daughter through private school.
And this is the private school, right?
More than private school, her private school and her college tuition. I'm like, hold on a minute.
and she can have an old apartment.
Driving a Bentley.
Right? Really? I was like, oh my Lord.
So why didn't you shy away from that then? So what made you look at that and then still be like, but I'm staying beside him?
Because I had a plan. I was like, I love this man, but I knew that, my background was in finance.
Oh, that's what it is. That's why you coming with this.
I was like, okay. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this don't feel good. I don't want to have to deal with this, but I know how to handle this, and I'm not going to let finances can't trump or like take over what I knew God had for me. There was
Hold on, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. Now, Erika, you're going too fast. Repeat what you just now said.
Matthew was my gift. He is my gift. Matthew, his name, actually means gift of God. So I knew that whatever came along with that gift, that God was going to see us through. He was going to bless us through whatever we had to walk through together. So all of the things that normally I guess would say are a deterrent, God gave me a piece to know, I got you.
You just hit something that was really key. And I was going to show my brilliance and talk about the book of Matthew and what Matthew really talks about. But I couldn't find, like, I said, there's something about his name that is indicative of this marriage. And I didn't get a chance to unpack it, and you just gave it to me. But last night I said, Matthew, I just kept hearing. I said, well, what is the synoptic gospels about Matthew? Matthew is one of the synoptic gospels. But what is this? What does it talk about? And then I ended up getting a phone call, and I said, okay, we talked about this and the crucifixion, this, blah, blah. All right. And I went about my business. And then you just confirmed gift from God.
He is my gift. My gift.
Look, good Lord. I don't know if I'm able to recover from this moment.
Oh.
So, another thing that we have to understand, marriage is about not only partnership, but it's about teamwork.
Yes.
You said, my background is finance. I know how to do this.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, and the very thing that God has skilled you in, that's what your spouse needs.
Right.
Whatever you need, he has.
Right.
Whatever he needs, you have. Right. And it's never about competition. It's about, okay, now what you do? Oh, you do that great. I suck at that. What do you do? Oh, I do that great. I suck at that. Well, come on. Let's make it work. And that's how you win as a couple.
Right.
And so I love unpacking this type of stuff, because the very thing that you could be like, oh, no, I don't want this. Yeah, it does inflame a certain emotion out of you. Like, oh, God, this. And then God says, but you know how to do this. This is easy work for you. Yeah, I do know how to do this.
Yeah, because it could produce a fear. It could produce fear so that you think, and it's almost like paralyzing, because nobody likes debt. And especially the amount of debt that we had to face. But when I tell you, I'm happy just to share. This is the thing. If I had let that be a deterrent, I would have missed out again on my gift. What God did and how the peace that God given me, let me just say, within the first year of our marriage, the amount of debt that he was in it disappeared like this.
The first year.
It was gone. Not because I paid it, but because God, God forgave that. God allowed, let me say that God forgave it. There was a forgiveness program that God just took care of it. He covered it.
Yeah, I had about 170 in student loan debt. And
we wanted to buy a house. We wanted to have children. I was thinking all that stuff is going to be, put on the back burner. We're not going to be able to, do this or that or the other. That could have been the thing that's the fear.
Isn't that crazy? Mm-hmm. That you could have allowed that to block your blessing.
Yes. Yeah. But it didn't. God, He covered us. He provided for us. And then not only that, I get to be in relationship with Him. I mean, my God, it truly is emotional. Like the thing is that I think I had been so scared of my own finances to where, like even with my previous relationship where someone was trying to even help me with my own finances. But it's like God, I saw how God took care of me in that moment. He allowed, because God uses instruments. I understand that they're people, but all of us are instruments to do what God had, His plan and His destiny. He used instruments, and they're people. They're people, they're places, they're things, they're all kinds of things. God's used anything. So I mean, I felt like in that moment where I had help, I was now being able to be an instrument to help in His life, And so you're talking about, using those gifts. That's something that, again, I couldn't shy away from. I said, you know what, this doesn't make me feel good. It makes me sweat. It makes me hot. It makes me all those things. But God just truly just covered our relationship and our finances and then just continued to bless us in that area. It was beautiful.
And how long did y'all take to get married? Your first date was in September.
Yeah.
And how long did it take y'all to get married? I want my boy Matt. Hold on, because he's the one that had to initiate all this. How long did it take for you to propose to her?
So September, and then I proposed. It was a matter of like a couple months. So it was in October. We started planning. We did like a small wedding, and we made it official in November. So November 12th was the official date. Yeah, it happened so quick. I knew, I knew without a doubt, like she was the one.
So 3 months. Yeah. It took 18 years.
2.5.
2.5 months. Excuse me. She said, don't stretch it out. September and the way November fell, it was still about 2.5 months.
Yeah,
give me my 2 weeks back.
It did.
And so you said 18-year process.
Yeah. A whole adult.
18 years process. Older than your child. Mm-hmm. That God wrapped that thing up in 3 months.
Yeah. And really fast forward to the future, because I really felt like I was missing out. I mean, I wanted to have children. I wanted to go on vacations. I wanted to have fun with my partner. I wanted to do all these things. And I was feeling like, man, I'm missing out. But God literally, it was like when we got married, it was like, well, from the process of us, reconnecting with each other to the time we got married. And then even till now, I feel like God just fast forwarded the future. And all those things that I thought I was missing, I got exceedingly above, even beyond what I thought I was missing out on. Things just took off in our love. And again, the way He loves me, I said, oh my gosh, I never knew that I could be loved like this. I never knew that there could be such a peace and such a kindness, because I always was conditioned to believe that, like Jody, that I had to be this loyal down girl for her guy, even though he's a bad boy. I'm doing this, he's doing that. And I thought I had to be down. I thought love had to hurt in order for it to mean something. And when I encountered Matthew, I found the opposite, to the point where he stayed in my friend zone because, yeah, he was nice. He wasn't even nice. He was kind. He would do things he would go out of his way to do things that for me but I didn't have the eyes to actually even realize what was going on. I knew that they were kind. I knew that they were nice, but I didn't have anything further than that. I just knew that, I really like the things that he does for me. And I would in turn do things for him. But I didn't have the eyes to see him the way that God had planned for me to see him. And that was because He was preparing our hearts for each other. And when our hearts were prepared and God was ready, God again, fast forward a few, he said, "This is your spouse." My grandmother confirmed it. There was a slew of people that he had to go through accountability to meet and uncles. And, one of my uncles said, he says, well, it was all of this was happening so fast. My uncle said, why do you want to get married to him? Why don't you just, wait some time? He said, what, you just want to have sex with him? He said, you can have sex with him if you don't want to have sex with him. And I was like, no, Uncle, it's not that. I truly believe that this is the man that God has he's not just for me, but for my daughter, for my family.
It's interesting when you talk about how the programming where you felt like you had to have a baby boy type of love, that's how it's supposed to be. We get brainwashed in thinking that love has to be struggle love and toxic love. So Matthew, you missed a great opportunity when you got down on your knees and said, girl, you probably gonna be my wife. You should have said that. I love you. You probably gonna be my wife. You should have said that in the proposal. You probably gonna be my wife. Who says that? What kind of thing is that? Girl, I love you. You probably gonna be my wife.
I love you, girl.
You probably gonna be. That is crazy. And so the reality is that, and that's why I love how this thing came. Y'all went from friends to fiance. I'm talking about, and so you give me the time span from the day that how long did it take from that date and the proposal? How long was that? A month? 3 weeks?
You mean from the time that he proposed to me to the time we got married?
No, from the time y'all had that first date in September to October. So I don't say a month later. You may say, it was actually 23 days. So I don't want to.
18 years. It was 18 years.
But I'm talking about from that first date, for your eyes opened up to the moment that ring hit your finger.
Oh my gosh. That was it a month?
He said September, and y'all got married in November.
Yeah, because it was it happened so fast. It had to be about a month and a half. It was so very quick. To be honest with you, we're like, when did that happen? Because we think about it because everything happened so quickly that we were like, wow. I mean, we talked about getting married after we did that Kaizen in our relationship. We knew. I remember I sent him. I had all these feelings and I was thinking, like, how can I tell this man without scaring him away that I just am so in love with him? So I sent him Casper, Casper, where he tells the girl, he says, can I keep you? That was my way of letting him know I want to be with you and I love you, but I didn't know how to say that, at that time. But he was feeling all that all along, and I had not. It was just me being, I want him to say it first, so like not sure. But eventually it did. He ended up telling me. So it ended up being about a month or a month and a half that we decided we were going to get married. And then that last couple of days, and the only reason why it was November 11th is because we were just kind of waiting for the date, to get married, November 12th. I'm sorry. My parents are they got married November 11th and we got married November
the next day.
12th.
Rihanna, do you play by those rules about the first person that says, I love you?
I want to, but then
it don't happen.
The real gotta come out. Gotta keep it real.
She said if she feels it, she's gonna have to say it. Isn't that funny how we do have those rules? Like I don't want, or we say I don't want to tell her I love you too soon. You know what I'm saying? Because we believe that if I say I love you, that means you're supposed to get married the next day. You know what I'm saying? It's like I can't say I love you and say I love you. It's just crazy stuff. Because I struggle with that myself. I'd be like, I feel these feelings, but I don't want to say that because then that means that, am I saying that you the one? I gotta get married to you because I feel like that. I'd be all conflicted. I was like, just be quiet. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
But that's interesting. Listen, as we wrap up, this was a very exciting interview. It was very unexpected. We're probably about 2 hours and 14 minutes. What is it?
Oh wow.
209.
Oh, look at that. You see, my brain keeps track of time like that. I said 209. So I'm 5 minutes off. But I love this. I want to take time with this because it took time to get to this. This is 18 years. This is covering an 18-year journey for you to say something that resonated with me, Erika, what you said yesterday is that you felt like you waited so long for this to take place that I don't want to butcher your statement. What did you say about loving for a lifetime? What did you say about you probably just flown and didn't know what you said?
I was just saying that I feel like
if I loved you for a lifetime, it still wouldn't be long enough.
Yes, if I loved you for a life, it's still not long enough. And it kind of makes me, sometimes I think about it in that fashion. It makes me sad because I was thinking like, oh man, like I could have, at 17, I could have made the right decisions and I could have, missed all this, counterfeit, the gook, the dating pool, being sick. I could have missed so many things, the abuse. I could have missed all that, and I could have been right with my gift.
And guess what? What I like looking at that as, that's a true statement, but I think that there's a different level of appreciation because you went through all that.
Far.
You looking through, you say, I've been on 3 dates in one day and they still wasn't enough. I've had the guy that took me from an inch of life. And I had the guy that was doing all the right things and said, hey, whatever you want, I got you, go pick out your own ring. And the ring that I looked at that I thought was my dream ring felt like handcuffs when it was placed on my finger.
Yeah.
I've seen it all. And God, all along, you were always there.
Right.
That is so indicative of Christ's love for us.
It is.
Sometimes we go search all over. I love the song says, I search all over, couldn't find nobody. I searched high and low, still couldn't find nobody. Nobody greater greater than you. Because that's what we do in our lives. We go search for everything, whether it's a career, whether it's the nice car, whether it's a nice home, whether it's the beautiful home in Marina Del Rey, whatever it is. You go look for all that and then you go, but God, it was you all along. Right. You've been with me from the beginning and you said you'll never leave me nor forsake me. And you've always been right here.
Right.
And that's the type of love that I want to celebrate that Matthew provided. He was just sitting there like a gentleman. You said something real keen. You said he's kind. Unpack the difference between that and what you said, not nice, but kind.
Yes.
What's the difference?
So the difference between being nice and kind is that when you're kind, you go outside of your comfort zone. You go outside of what is convenient. You go outside of what feels good. You go outside of those things to accommodate and make it a pleasure. You know, when Matthew does something for me and I say, thank you, Matthew. You know what my husband says to me?
What?
My pleasure. It's my pleasure. Because he has a pleasure in doing things for me and genuinely. Not just nice. Anybody can be nice. I mean, Mr. Scrooge can be nice, or the Grinch can be nice, do something nice. But when you are kind, you go out of your way and it's not something that you just do out of obligation. But yes, exactly. But you do it because you love the person.
Or to please that person.
So have you always been like that? Like as a young boy? You were running around doing that for your teachers at school, doing it for your mom. Were you the one that was always, would you have been the young boy that brought the apple to the teacher?
No, I want to say I was that person. I think I'm very selective of what I do because I think in my heart I'm kind. Like I'm always doing kind things. But I think the distinguish between kind and nice is a nice gesture is more you're trying to please that other person. Kind is you do it from the root of your heart. Like I do it because I genuinely want to do it for that person, not because I do it for some kind of
reciprocation.
Yeah, some kind of reciprocation. Like you said, if you go give your apple to the teacher, you might be doing it because you're trying to get something out of it. So you're in a good light. So that part of me has always been something that is in my heart. Like I do it out of the kindness of my heart.
Let me ask you this before we wrap up, because I do want to unpack this real briefly. You went through a marriage for 5 years. You're 3 years in with Erika. How has her love healed you?
That's a deep one. He went deep on that. So with her heart has shown me to be open to love again. Because there was a period of time where I was like, I'm not gonna marry. I'm gonna have no more kids. Like it was to a point where I was telling my friends, and when they heard that I got married, they were surprised. They were like, well, hold up, man.
You just said.
Wait a minute, man. We just was talking about this like a couple of months ago. You said you not getting married, not having kids. You just gonna go find yourself. So ultimately, she has allowed me to find what's already inside of me because of her heart. And her heart is what truly makes her beautiful. Like physically, yeah, she's gorgeous. And I'm not just saying that because I'm her husband. I could see that when other men look at her. And what makes her me attracted to her is her heart. Like the way she shows kindness to other people. And I think that has allowed me to like really go in and see my kindness and express that kindness without any obligation or any condition, and show that kindness to our kids, to her, to family members. So yeah, that's the healing that you are talking about. It allowed me to heal and just be my authentic self.
Erika.
Yes.
You kissed a lot of frogs. And then you stopped kissing frogs altogether. Your heart has been mismanaged. You were traumatized at the tender age of 18, dealing with a felon.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You had your heart broken. It was the love that you felt like was authentic and pure love was ripped away from you without your permission. Mm-hmm. As a grown woman, you made the decision to allow yourself to open up to your friend Matthew.
Yes, I did.
How has his love restored your hope in men?
You know, he allows me to rest in my femininity. He allows my heart to rest and have peace. And I've always been a lover of love. But one thing about Matthew is that he's kind, but he's also a very peaceful person. So I'll give you an example. When, going through all of the trauma that I had gone through, I became, I think I was traumatic for people to experience me, or not traumatic. I was challenging for people to experience me. I had anger, I had resentment, I was always feeling unjustified. And in those things can create sadness and hurt. And when you're a broke puppy,
you wounded, somebody touch you. Yeah,
you don't know whether someone's reaching out that hand to
hurt you or pet you,
soothe you, or if someone's coming to hurt you and harm you. So with Matthew, I really feel like he just, again, that love of Christ that I felt, that I know, because I said God, because God was my husband. So in that singleness and my celibacy, God sustained me, but he was also my husband. So he showed me how I should receive love, or how I can receive love, because I was just so used to, again, it hurting and just dealing with it and thinking I'm down, that when Matthew came along, I'm like, oh my gosh, and I discovered new things about myself. So healing, I healed, yes. His love is just covered me. It allows me to not be so aggressive, have to stand up for myself. A lot of this single mama, being a single mom, you have a lot of responsibility.
And stigma that comes along with it.
Stigma, yes, but you take on a lot of roles and things that you shouldn't have to, because, your husband, that covering, you don't have that husband that covers you. And when Matthew did come into my life, he was my covering. I was able to sit down and go, oh, I don't have to bark. I don't have to bite. I don't have to, be so aggressive here. I can allow my husband, one, to just handle and manage it. And then two, I can rest and I can be feminine, which was hard, I would not say far from me, but it was very challenging for me to do that, because I was said to be so assertive.
Hold on. Did you feel that, Matt? Did you feel that she was operating her masculinity?
I think she definitely presented that. And I think it was because she had to. She had to be mom and dad. She had to be a protector of her home, because she didn't have a man there. She had to, if things happened, she had to take care of it. And she has a strong personality. She has a strong will. But she also understands that she now can rest in her femininity.
Well, there's like a submissiveness that I have to allow him to just, I don't have to do that. Oof. What a weight off my heart.
When you said my heart can rest with him, I'm going to lay it on this floor. When I tell you that's what every woman wants.
Yeah.
She wants a place where she can just rest. And she says, he got me.
Yes.
You know, I always say one of the things that most men try to force their women into is submission. You know what I'm saying? But it's not a place like when I used to be in Taekwondo. Well, I was in mixed martial arts, and you can put somebody in a submission hold and you tap out.
Yeah.
Well, nobody wants to be choked up and all entangled to be like, all right, I submit, I tap out. It should be something that you freely walk into and you go, like you just did, and exhale. Wait until exhale, where you go,
right.
My heart can rest here.
Right.
And it's so unfortunate that for men and women, we don't find our resting place. And so as we get ready to wrap up, I just want to encourage everybody under the sound of my voice to be a resting place in those people that we get the privilege to love, the privilege to do life with, even if it's short-lived, 3 months, and y'all are just dating each other, getting to know each other, and y'all find out that y'all are misaligned and y'all decide to part ways. Let it be a place where you become healing for that person instead of being a place where you're pushing that person into 3 years of therapy because you were so toxic while you were dealing with them that they said, oh, Lord, I ain't going to never date nobody again because I just dated so-and-so. Don't be that person.
Right.
Be the person who's like, you know what? This dating experience has been great. They were a mirror reflecting who I am, and they taught me some things, and I learned some things from them, and this was great. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so date responsibly. I'm going to start making that tagline. Date responsibly. That'd be great. Date responsibly. Because we are caring for God's children. And so just make sure that we have healthy experiences. How can we support y'all? What y'all got going on? Because we got something we can support.
Yeah, well, I have a mental health app that I'm currently working on. It'll be relaunching pretty soon here in a couple months. It's a mental health app to help college students called Boom.
Is it on the App Store now? Or
yeah, it's live on the App Store.
Okay, cool.
And you can download it now. Boom AI. So it's specifically designed for college students and then help them with their mental health.
That'd be great. So y'all know we're big advocates of mental health and therapy on the Dear Future Wifey podcast. And so, hey, tell your kids, tell your teens, grab their phone, download it for them and say, look into this and start doing the work. Erika, what you got going on? Because you speak like you're a writer. Are you a writer of some sort?
No, I'm not. Although I have thought about writing my life story. It's just
Please do, because you sound like it. Sometimes when you speak like it's. I was like, why do you speak poetic like that? You should.
Oh, wow.
I was about to say you should be encouraged to go write something.
Yeah. That's so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have a stationery and lifestyle brand that I'm launching. It's called Stone and Paper. The reason why it's one is it's stone because the 10 Commandments were written on stone. And so that's the foundation of who I am in my life. And so I wanted to incorporate that with something that I truly love because I'm a creative. So I have Stone and Paper, and it's an AI app, but it's also a lifestyle stationery brand that'll be launching. So
give me the links to that.
Yeah.
Matt, I want to salute you, King, for loving this woman back to health, for being somebody in her life that she said that she can rest in. I don't take that lightly because I have a lot of women friends who are looking for a Matthew that they can rest in, somebody that is steadfast and unmovable. You're not swayed by how she feels or, and I say how she feels, meaning that if she doesn't show up as her healed self, you don't be like, oh, forget this. That's what I don't like dealing with y'all. I've done enough. And you don't respond like that. She keeps saying you operate in kindness and you say, it is my privilege.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like when a king is handling a king's daughter, and you're handling her, you're coming at her. She says the love that you give her is the way God loves her. Mm-hmm. Bro, when I tell you, there is no greater words of affirmation than that right there, that your woman said that you reflect the love of God.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
I salute you, King.
I appreciate
Keep doing
that.
a great job. Keep loving this girl properly. Keep leading your family well. Erika, keep showing up. Keep loving your husband well. Keep being fortified in the love that God, the gift that God has given you in Matthew. And y'all continue to have those tough conversations as y'all started off y'all relationship. And y'all said, let's have these tough conversations. It's uncomfortable, but hey.
We continue.
It's going to stay there. And it's like, let's keep having these tough conversations so that the devil doesn't get a foothold to come in and cause division in our marriage. Right. And because the devil, the thief cometh but to kill, steal, and destroy. Yes. He says he goes around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And so he look and be like, all right, is it gay? Ooh, I found it. Yeah. And he'll try to jump in on that and exasperate whatever that deficiency or that gap is in y'all relationship. And now it's magnified. He turning, little molehills, into great big mountains and stuff. Right. And you be like, it's not that serious. What you mean it's not that serious? It is that serious. You like, but it's not really that serious. But in your mind, it is huge. Right. And then now y'all got the vision. And it was like, when y'all sit down and talk about it, they like, but that really wasn't that deep. Right. It's because it just it's a continuation of moments where a party felt unheard, felt unloved, felt unappreciated. And it gets bigger, bigger, bigger. And next thing you know, it comes out like, you never appreciate me.
Right.
And it's like, never.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. It's like, yeah, you never.
Right.
I've been keeping track for the last 6 months. You never even said thank you. You know what I'm saying? That's what be happening for real. Yeah. But listen, I can talk to this family all day. I really, really enjoyed this. I wanted to take my time in this interview because there was a lot to unpack. Yeah. So y'all give it up for my homies, the West, y'all. Stay tuned to the end for a letter to my future wifey.
And writing these love letters to you.
Ladarian, thrusted suddenly into Child Protective Services in 2015. My nephew, Black, a boy. The likelihood of being adopted outside of kinship, slim to none. Armani, 16 years old, Black, a boy, with 5 years in the foster care system before I even knew his name. The likelihood of ever being adopted, yep, you guessed it, slim to none. While Ladarian and Armani were trying to survive and barely thrive in an overpopulated and underfunded foster care system, I was living my own life, doing well professionally. Having been a single father with a daughter who at that point was doing well in college, it was my time to live my life, right? Wrong. I felt unsettled, tireless, agitated. There are just too many of our Black children stuck in ambiguity and in the limbo of the foster care system. In 2017, I legally adopted my nephew, Ladarian. Fast forward to 2019, I had no ties to this other young king, but I felt God instructed me to adopt him also, and I obeyed. Starting over with parenting should have been enough, right? Working with various foster care and adoption agencies to help bring awareness to the countless young Black kings in the foster care system should have decreased my agitation, right? Joining the board of directors of Advantage Adoption, an organization that helps find permanent adoptive homes for children in foster care, should have led to some type of resolve, right? No, not at all. None of it felt like I had done enough. I now realize that every one of those experiences was laying the fundamental foundation for my life's mission, Kingdom Royale. Kingdom Royale will be a luxury, state-of-the-art home for foster boys. Our first location will be in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We will utilize the whole person approach that instills identity, empowers them to advocate for themselves, and enlightens them regarding new perspectives and limitless options that they thought were impossible. Though the young kings will attend the local public schools that are in proximity to Kingdom Royale, Our at-home curriculum will broaden their worldview through participating in the arts, attending various cultural events, learning about and engaging in multifaceted discussions about current events and even relevant historical context, introducing them to gardening and landscaping and even caring for our animals on our farm and on-site stables. We just launched our Startup Capital campaign with the goal of raising $2.8 million. Now, why $2.8 million? Well, in 2017, I created a web series in which I performed random acts of kindness for targeting the homeless community. One of the most notable successes was that one of the videos went viral, garnering 28 million views. However, one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't raise a single dollar to help in implementing a more sustainable plan for the homeless community. So throughout the years, with much remorse, I reflected on not maximizing that moment. I knew if at that time, just 10% of the viewers donated $1, we would have raised at least $2.8 million that could have really established long-term support for the homeless community, or at least started a long-term initiative to do so. This is my do-over. This is our new beginning. Together, we can attack this at the root by specifically helping our homeless Black boys who are already disproportionately represented in the American foster care system. I'm Laterras R. Whitfield. I've been nominated for 3 regional Emmys documenting my work with the homeless as well as my personal adoption journey. Despite those accolades, the greatest award for me is truly providing the infrastructure for a transformed life. Visit kingdomroyale.com for more details. Crown a king and make a donation today. Man, this episode was a pretty long one, but we had to unpack 21 years of a love story. 18 years before they ever met with intentionality of exploring their love on that September day in 2021 and being intentional about it 3 months later and saying, I do. Well, here's my favorite part of the podcast where I speak to my future wifey. Dear future wifey, love delayed is not love denied. I've learned that time is not the enemy of love, but its curator, refining our hearts in the waiting, preparing us for the moment when our souls finally intertwine. Every detour, every season of solitude, every unanswered prayer was not rejection, it was divine orchestration. From the moment our eyes first met, eternity whispered, there she is. The first day of forever began before we ever spoke, before our hands first touched. The world may measure love by time, but our love is measured by purpose. And in its own time, love always arrives fully, unapologetically, and undeniably. I don't lament the wait because the wait is what made us. It fortified our faith, deepened our wisdom, and softened our hearts so that when love finally called our names, we would be ready. The journey wasn't meant to be easy. It was meant to be right. So whenever that day comes, whether tomorrow or years from now, I will stand in the presence of a love that was never lost, only waiting to be revealed. And when I call you my wife, it won't feel like the beginning. It will feel like home. Your future hubby.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Dear Future Wifey podcast. Remember, be lit, live intentionally and transparently, and don't stop loving.
Make sure to subscribe to our Dear Future Wifey YouTube channel. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. We welcome your support. Simply share our podcast with your friends and family.